1 year ago, as the motorsports world ground to a halt, the world's best dirt racers ventured onto the iRacing service to feed their need for speed. We are back in 2021 for the iRacing iRX All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama as the top Rallycross drivers in the real and virtual worlds of motorsport head to the virtual dirt. But as we saw 12 months ago, once the lights go green and the cars start beating and banging, all friendships will be put to the side as drivers focus on getting to the checkered flag first. Hello and welcome to RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live for coverage of Round 1 in the 2021 iRX All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. My name is Arjuna Kankipati and alongside for today's action is Jonathan Simon with Tyler Maxson in the production booth controlling all of the action. Johnny, delighted to be at Brands Hatch to kick off this mini-series. Some of the best dirt racers in Full Metal Motorsport are just about to get onto the track, and once we see who comes out on top amongst them, they'll hand the track over to the best sim racers on the iRacing service, and we'll be racing at some of the newest additions to the iRX schedule as well, and tracks that we'll see return in the fall for the 2021 World Championship Series.
Yeah, exactly. It's back. All-star events for our professionals in motorsport, and then an invitational series, something a little different for our professionals in sim racing. It's a brand new year, brand new circuits, as you say, and with no pun intended, we welcome you to Brands Hatch for round number 1. It is an exquisite circuit, the longest of our various pick of circuits on the Rallycross calendar for our World Championship this year, and it's very challenging. It's also the fastest out there as well. 235 kilometers an hour heading into Paddock Hill Bend at turn number 1, and Arjuna, it shares very similar characteristics to the old Rallycross circuit they ran here at Brands Hatch for many decades.
And for those who are unfamiliar, this track has a history of hosting Rallycross action. That's kind of migrated, over to the likes of Lydon Hill. Here is the event format, Johnny. 5 minutes of qualifying has just begun. Drivers get 3 laps to set their fastest lap times. That will bring us into the heat races with a 17-car field. That means 3 heat races for the pro drivers, 5 laps. The top 2 of them advance the rest of the cars into the LCQs where they fight for their chance to make it into the feature races.
And it'll be a little different in our all-star events for our motorsport racers because of the grid size. So it's up to 4 heats, even for the sim racers as well, and up to 2 LCQs. We should get a few heats in, should get probably 2 LCQs as well, depending on numbers. But it will be action-packed, which is what we always see in our all-star events. We've had races last year where all 10 drivers were taken out into turn 1 to begin the feature race. We've had brilliant action where it's been clean racing. But most of all, it's been fun, there's been laughs, and you get to see your favorite drivers tackling it out there on the racetrack, such as Scott Speed, who we've just seen pass us in the Subaru Motorsports USA car. He is very quick in Rallycross machinery. You'd have to say he's one of the favorites here today.
It's great to see the traditional blue and gold for Subaru Motorsports out on the iRacing service. And of course, Scott Speed, Johnny, as he starts his qualifying attempts here, he was part of the team that developed iRacing on the service as well. So he knows what it takes to be fast, not just in the real world, but some of those tricks and little intricacies of sim racing that you have to always find to go fast in the sim as well.
And people forget with Scott Speed, apart from being a former Formula 1 driver as well, racing for Toro Rosso back in the day, he's raced in NASCAR and many other forms of competition. He is a 4-time world champion in Rallycross in the US. And we ride on board with him through the circuit, so we grab a feel about what Brands Hatch will present to us this year in Rallycross. So he heads through Graham Hill Bend. This is turns 5 and 6. Then you'll head towards turn 7. The Joker is to the right-hand side onto the loose. Now, you might think that's a shortcut as they cut through Clark Curve, but it's actually a 2-second Joker delta time. It varies from 1.9 to 2.1. There's the exit of the Joker, depending on how you take it, when you take it, and whether or not you take it with traffic. So we're expecting lap times around the 54 to 55 second range for the sim racers. A 56.4 at the moment by Kevin Hansen on pole is a very quick lap time. Scott Speed about half a second behind.
Times are coming in thick and fast. We've got a contingent from the IndyCar community. Connor Daly currently fastest of them in 9th position, James Hinchcliffe in 10th, and Ed Carpenter, who's run a team in the World Championship Series in the past, in the 12th position in the 021 One thing you will notice, Johnny, is just like we saw in the World Championship just a couple of months ago, the Subaru is very much the favored car, but watch out for the Fords and the Beetles. They can be very rapid as well, and some of these drivers, Kevin Hansen, for example, he's in that Beetle, and across the start finish line he goes to complete lap number 2.
Been a lot of arguments about which car's quickest. I think all three are pretty much equal, and some drivers proved that wrong last year. A lot of the drivers in the Subaru were a little annoyed when your non-Subaru drivers were complaining about balance of power. It's always been a conversation through not just sim racing, fellas, but in motorsport too. And for Kevin Hansen, it won't phase him at all. Some of those drivers last year, the sim racers, would jump in from the Subaru to, let's say, the VW and post similar lap times within a tenth just to prove the balance of power theory wrong. But won't be impacting Kevin Hansen. He's here for a bit of fun, racing for Hansen Williams Esports. His teammate here today is Henrik Krogstad, and his teammate, Arjuna, raced not in this All-Star Invitational last year. He was a competitor in our Sim Racers World Championship.
And there was a bit of discussion, Johnny, that we had before we came on air as to whether Krogstad is really a pro racer or a sim racer. As Z Baccarat goes up into 4th, qualifying done then for Kevin Hansen, a world champion as well. It's going to be interesting to see Krogstad, like you mentioned, that World Championship experience on the dirt. Here's Tim Stevens, here's Ron Capps, lots of strong names. No one with as much sim experience as Krogstad, who now goes up into 2nd.
Well, Ron Capps will not be feared by the sim. The man has traveled at 526 kilometers per hour. He is an NHRA funny car racer. He's won an NHRA Funny Car Series Championship back in 2016 as Ron Capps, racing the Napa Autosport Subaru. And across the line he goes. And now where does he place? He's never the quickest in Rallycross machinery, but he's made some feature races, and he's a very good racer for a driver who, ironically, doesn't race too much in a sense. He's always out against the stopwatch, but not against other drivers.
Well, qualifying comes to a close then. Get ready now for the first of our heat races. A couple of drivers make their way into the main event. Trackside then for the first of our 6-car heats, and it is Jim DeCamp on the pole in the 111. Ron Capps will line up on the outside. It is 2x2 here at Brands Hatch. So Connor Daly, Tim Stevens, row number 2. Andreas Baccarat and Kevin Hansen. Lots of RX experience. They line up at the tail end of this field, Johnny.
Tim Stevens is a journalist. He's not a road racer. He's not a real race car driver, but he's done a very good job covering sim racing during the pandemic and lockdown, and he's very quick as well. He improves from time to time. It's an inverted grid. We're going to have inverted grids all day, and that's why you see our pole sitter Kevin Hansen starting from the back. Get him a seat in the Sim Racers World Championship.
That would be something to watch. Baccarat and Hansen, they've come to blows in the past in the real world. It'll be very interesting to see on the run down into turn 1. It's a heavy braking zone here as well. The cars are ready. Green light is about to come out here at Brands Hatch for the first of our heat races in the 2021 iRX All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. The engines rev. Let's get underway. Very good start from the 2nd row of the grid, but the inside, Jim DeCamp, he gets swarmed as we fly our way down into the heavy braking zone. Capps is going to lead. Oh, but he gets it all sorts of wrong, Johnny, and this is the sort of chaos that we thought might happen.
And you'll have to turn his way back around. That's Kevin Hansen in the wall as well, your pole sitter, but you can't skip Paddock Hill Bend. You have to go through the loose, otherwise you will receive a 30-second time penalty at the end of the race. So that's why you've seen them all go through, but we'll try and pick apart who's in first place. It looks like Connor Daly for the moment in the US Air Force Subaru. Tim Stevens right behind, and Tim Stevens up the inside for the lead. He's in turn number 1. Oh, sorry, excuse me. He's in P number 1 here halfway through the first lap.
Looked like he yoinked the handbrake as well, but you can see top 2 streaking away as Baccarat is now up into 3rd. There was a bit of a mix-up between, I think, Baccarat and Hansen as they tried to get around Ron Capps, who was pointed in the wrong direction. But to complete lap number 1, Stevens and Daly, no one has taken the Joker just yet, Johnny. And you were saying that it's between 1.9 to 2.1 seconds. If you're Connor Daly in this situation, how do you approach the Joker strategy?
Yeah, it's very interesting. We'll wait and see because we've never raced here before. Not on iRacing, not officially in an All-Star Invitational or World Championship as we ride on board with Connor Daly. And we'll get a glimpse of how strategy will work. I'm sure these guys have put in hours of work, Arjuna, into the All-Star Invitational, figuring out Joker strategy. People might laugh at what happened to Ron Capps there at turn 1, but it is a downhill braking zone, and we talked about it. It's the fastest point of any circuit in Rallycross, which is why it's a bit of a struggle to get these Subarus and Volkswagens and Ford Fiestas slowed down.
And braking in these machines, Johnny, is not as simple as I think some of our viewers might be thinking. The car, the way that the weight transfers, that's what influences the braking performance and how the car then responds as you enter your input. So for Ron Capps there, just a little bit too fast. I think he tried to respond, and that spat him out into the wall. And once you get things wrong in these cars, there's very little time to react.
Oh, and Tim Stevens has hopped all over those anti-cut strips. Will he receive a slowdown penalty? We'll wait and see. Now, all eyes, I think, should be on Andreas Bakkerud because he needs a top 2 transfer position. Only your top 2 head to the feature race. The rest will head to your, what we call LCQs, stands for last chance qualifiers. And it means they have one last chance to make that feature race. There's Bakkerud in the Monster Energy Subaru up the inside of Connor Daly. Connor Daly's going to have to take to the Joker unintentionally. A very bumpy entry. And this is not a shortcut. 2.1 seconds around that mark added to his lap time.
And you can see Daly was struggling, I think, to get the car turned in, but now in some clean air. Now let's see if he can maybe try and get some good lap times in. Couple of laps to go. Bakkerud on the hunt then, 2.6 behind Stevens. I think it is a 3-horse race here. Stevens, Bakkerud, and Daly fighting for those 2 transfer spots, Johnny. Stevens is looking very, very quick, I might say, and Andreas Bakkerud is really having to push hard to catch the CNET editor in front.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's Stevens probably got this race in the bag, but for Bakkerud, I think he's got that transfer position done and dusted. He's all on his own, ready to lap away. For Kevin Hansen, you'll probably head to your last chance qualifiers. Very quick is Kevin Hansen. His brother Timmy Hansen not racing today, 2019 FIA World Rallycross champion. And did I see in the back a shot Bakkerud go for the Joker? It just appeared for a second there. And there he is, yes. So he's going to lose some lap time. Good decision, I guess, Bakkerud, because he's got that clear track space. And I guess you can, well, pictures speak louder than words, don't they, Arjuna? He's in second.
Hey, he's in second now, comfortably in front of Daly. So Stevens versus Bakkerud. White flag in the air. Gap is 4 seconds. So at this point in time, like Johnny said, Tim Stevens in control. But look at the car control on display from Bakkerud. Now let's see how much time he can really close on this final lap, Johnny.
I think there's no chance. The 29-year-old Norwegian, who has yet to win a world championship, but he's been oh so close. But Tim Stevens, who is a motorsport journalist, he's the editor at Roadshow, worked at CNET as well, and he's done a great job, like we've said, over the past couple of years as he takes his one required Joker lap. He's done a good job the past couple of years covering sim racing. And he's been improving bit by bit. Even did a training session with 2018 champion Mitchell de Jong. He'll win Heat 1.
And the unfortunate thing for him, victory here doesn't give him a pole position in the feature race. Instead, drops him to the tail end of the field.
Last.
And he'll have so much work to do. You can see the final cars across the line. Hansen finishes in 4th. Lots of work to do. Quick look at our race results because, Johnny, we've got to quickly re-rack these cars for heat number 2. So Stevens and Bakkerud, those are the 2 cars that advance. And heat number 2 already getting set to grid.
Yeah, it's a virtual shine, virtual WD-40 going on the cars, and we'll be ready to go for heat number 2. So results are, it was Stevens and Bakkerud who headed to the feature race. Everybody else to your Marwin Sports LCQ. But heat 2 grid will be going up. And Mario Bonfanni Jr., Arjuna, will be starting from first, along with Ed Carpenter, Mikey Lawrence, Mike McKinney, Scott Speed, and Henrik Krogstad. 2 very quick guys down the back of the pack. But Mario Bonfanni Jr. is a quadriplegic and is racing very impressively to design himself an ability to race in these rallycross machinery. Good on him for being out there.
And if you go on YouTube, you can find some clips of Bonfante in his rig. He's got motion as well. It is a very impressive setup. Just waiting for Krogstad to take to the grid, and we will get underway for our second of the heat races. The one thing that we should just let our viewers know in preparation for the upcoming World Championship season, track resets very much randomized, and the name of the game for the competitors. But heat number 2 about to get underway. It's Bonfante Jr. and Ed Carpenter on the front row, Mikey Lawrence and Mike McKinney. Second row, Scott Speed and Henrik Krogstad on the final row of this grid. Still waiting for, I think, 15 seconds here. Bonfante Jr., we saw the last time you and I were commentating, Johnny, he had a very, very big flip at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Kind of got put into some Twitch compilations as well. He'll be hoping for some better luck and to not have the similar kind of incident down in towards turn 1 today.
He's had a lot of flips. That Atlanta one was probably the best. He went over the anti-cut strip and flipped upside down. We had Bucky Lasek that race. Yes, the Bucky Lasek fly over someone and overtake him over the jump. That was during the feature race start. We had a whole lot more. That's what I like about these All-Star Invitationals. The guys laugh about it. They love it. Sometimes some drivers get a little bit too competitive. You might see them quit out of their little servers and rage quit just because they are super competitive. No matter how much of an All-Star Invitational it is, some of these guys want to win. They want the bragging rights, but we're ready to go for Heat 2. Green flag will wave sometime shortly.
Cars are revving, 6 cars ready to go with 2 more spots left in the feature. Who will get the launch here down in towards turn 1? It's a rather long hold. As you see, 3, 2, 1, waiting for the cars to be given the green flag. And away they go. Good launch from Carpenter. Better launch from the RX Superstars on the final row. Krogstad into the grass. Here comes around the outside, though. Former World Championship competitor. 3 wide through turn 1. Always ends in disaster. Bonfante and Carpenter touching still. In through the chicane they go. Scott Speed just about able to hold on to it with contact with Carpenter. But look at the launch from Krogstad from 6th to 1st, Johnny, in just a couple of corners.
Thank God these cars are four-wheel drive, because there'd be a lot of drivers pointing the wrong way if they were rear-wheel drive. Just hammer the throttle and save it. Brilliant shot over the jump there. So it's Krogstad who leads from last. How about that for a start? Bonfante Jr. up there in second. Still keeping it honest. Scott Speed, though, has somehow slotted himself into the second position. Your 2 drivers who started from the back row have less work to do now to head into those top 2 transfer positions.
Ooh. And Bonfante threw the Joker hard into the outside wall. Might have some steering damage to contend with as well. He will slot out right in front of Mikey Lawrence and Mike McKinney. That second row now falls to 5th and 6th respectively. But down into turn 1, Krogstad versus Speed. Speed, I try and avoid making too many puns about his name, Johnny, but he's always shown consistency, I think. We saw it last year as well on the iRacing IndyCar Challenge, which you got to take part in a couple of races in. He knows what it takes in the sim, and now it's about being consistent, because Krogstad, he knows those same tricks as well.
Henrik Krogstad, RX2 champion in 2020. There was only 1 round, and he drove one of the best rounds anyone's ever seen in RX2 history as well. Now, whether that was pandemic inflicted, we don't know, but he's a very quick racer. The Hanson brothers love him, and that's why he's racing with them. Still continuing on in 2021. He's a talent for the future, is Henrik Krogstad, and I think his talent translates to the sim, right? He's holding off Scott Speed here quite nicely after this start. And they'll head through the fastest point in Rallycross right here, 235 kilometers an hour into Paddock Hill Bend. What a unique part of the Rallycross circuit here. To have Paddock Hill Bend and Rallycross mixed together in the same word on iRacing is absolutely magnificent. And then on towards the Druids hairpin. 55 kilometers an hour, but believe it or not, you're into 5th gear at this corner.
It's all about minimizing wheel spin down the hill into the jump. Interesting graphic on the back side of the jump, but left side of the screen, you can follow along with the Joker lap progress. So 4th, 5th, and 6th, they've all taken their Jokers. As Bonfante Jr. has had a bit of a spin, and Mike Lawrence has gotten caught up in it as well. See if we can potentially get the replay as Bonfante tries to get pointing in the right direction, waiting for Krogstad and Speed to come down for their Joker, but it is looking very comfortable, Johnny, for these 2 to advance into the feature.
Yep, certainly. No one's going to touch these 2 guys, so I think that's a written-off car for Mario Bonfante Jr. I think he's been able to get that thing going again, so he should be able to continue away. Now, that's a big lock-up there for Henrik Krogstad, followed up by a lock-up from Scott Speed. There is Mario Bonfante Jr., so he's gone in a little bit too hot into Druids. Oh, and he's missed the apex to the inside of the corner, if that's a thing. And that's what's actually shoved him to the outside of the racetrack, where some drivers, the sim racers, you might see actually use the outside there. It's got a little bit more grip, and it's allowed for the moment. won't be impeded for track limits. But how about this from Scott Speed to be back in Rallycross, having fun yet again. Not all his mates are here today. We know Travis Pastrana joined us last year for a few races, and he had some fun. We never got to see Travis in many features. Hopefully we get him soon. If not for this All-Star Invitational, maybe for one later in the year.
I think Travis is probably a bit busy with the Nitro Circus, which of course the Rallycross there is going to get underway in America. And talking of Scott Speed, I'm sure he'll be delighted to be thinking about the possibility of getting back behind the wheel of a real car as well. Of course, suffering a back injury at the Nitro Circus 2019 Games. Was the points leader in the America's Rallycross Championship going into that round, but he will take, I'm sure, the opportunity in 2021 to jump back behind the wheel. White flag in the air, Johnny. I don't think, even though Speed has managed to close here, Krogstad is really going to be feeling too much pressure.
Scott Speed and his engineer, Graham Quinn, both qualified for the Sim Racers World Championship back in 2018, and they were both, if they tested and committed to the series, which they didn't have much time for, they were both top 10, top 20 potential talent. So good on them. They both take the Joker on this final trip by, which they have to, whether or not you want to take it. It's the long way round, even though it looks shorter. And Krogstad wins. He advances to the feature. He'll start at the back along with Scott Speed.
So the Rallycross drivers, they started on the final row of this grid, but they made their way up on the launch. Very impressive from Krogstad into the grass around the outside. And he was leading come the end of just the first sector as well. Final cars across the line. Carpenter, Lawrence, McKinney, and Bonfante. They go into the last chance qualifiers, Johnny, as we get set for heat number 3.
So one more heat to go. There are the results. And we talked about the top 2 all race. How about Ed Carpenter? Very quick and open wheel machinery. Loves doing Rallycross too, does Ed Carpenter. And Mikey Lawrence back again racing. He's done a few of these, has Mikey Lawrence, over the past year, I would say, as we've been doing these All-Star Invitationals. It's a 5-car grid for Heat 3. Blake Bilko Williams, the Australian, currently in California, but he is Australian. We'll start from first. Chris Atkinson also racing today. He's been very quick in rally machinery. Not really Rallycross. He's more of a rally driver, is Chris Atkinson in the World Rally Championship. Then you've got James Hinchcliffe, a man you would know very well, our junior. And Connor Martell, young man, very quick in Rallycross, has raced in open wheel machinery as well. And Tanner Witten down at the back of the pack will start from 5th.
I have a feeling as well, 5 cars here might be a bit more intense down into turn number 1. They're already all good to go. We still have a couple of seconds before we will get underway. Prediction here, Johnny. James Hinchcliffe, he's got in the catbird seat, kind of, because you'll see they're kind of all swarmed across the grid. Row 1, a bit more to the left side of the track. What does that mean for someone if you can get a good launch?
We'll wait and see, because the race is about to start. I'm sure I was going to give a good answer, Arjuna, but the green flag waves. Green
flag does wave indeed, or at least we wait for the engines to rev. Cars are being held for a bit longer once more. Good launch from the outside. Atkinson's going to get contact. I think that was with Connor Martell, but he leads into 1. And they're all very tentative here. Slight bumping and banging, but for the first time, all cars pointed in the wrong direction. It's Hinchcliffe who's lost out, and contact with Blake Bilko Williams there. Bilko Williams, I think, Jonathan, the big loser.
Definitely. Good character, though. Should fight his way back. So you can see in 3rd position is Tanner Witten in the Ford Fiesta. Doing a brilliant job, Tanner Witten, the 28-year-old. He has raced in Rallycross for many years as Tanner Witten. Raced in Red Bull GRC FIA World Rallycross Championship as well. He's up into 2nd now. How about that? But Chris Atkinson leads. He always somehow finds a way, Chris Atkinson, to make the feature races. Tanner Witten searching for an open track up ahead of him. Now, Chris Atkinson, I don't think he was forced off the racetrack. I think that was human error.
I'm going to spool up my own look here and see if I can figure that one out. But Martell had run slightly wide with contact with Atkinson coming through the middle of the track. But it's Tanner Witten up 4 positions on the day. Lost to first once more, Johnny, in through turn 1. Look at the speed he carries as well. Hinchcliffe side by side with Atkinson. So the disappointing start that the 29 car had is not causing him too much issues as he goes, missing the track completely there.
Yeah, I saw Hinchcliffe skip the 2nd chicane, and now a battle for the lead continues. So this is by far been the most competitive heat, because Tanner Witten, we thought had 1st position, has got to deal with Connor Martell, who is no joke when he races in Rallycross. He was always up there with the pros. Here's a replay of what happened to Chris Atkinson. Was there contact? No, not even close. So that was an error by Chris Atkinson and well forced by Tanner Whitten.
It's just that mental game, right, Johnny? He poked his nose not once but twice deep under the brakes. And Atkinson, who we've seen being quick on the iRacing service in the past, now finds himself in fourth and lots of work to do. I think he'll be having to fight through the LCQs as we come on to lap 3 out of 5 here. Whitten and Martel 3 seconds clear of James Hinchcliffe in third.
How about Hinch as well, racing with Andretti as we ride on board with Connor Martel. Now, James Hinchcliffe, you've been following IndyCar for many years, haven't you, Arjuna? Do you ever expect to see him in Rallycross, virtual or real?
And not just virtual or real, it's the fact that he's got a very similar paint scheme to what he's running in this year in the Genesis Auto VW Beetle to date, usually Genesis Auto Dallara IR18. And he does, I think, enjoy these Rallycross events. It's just fun, right, Johnny? We were talking about the immense preparation that these drivers put in. It's just show up. We've seen some bumping and banging between the various drivers, different disciplines coming together as well as Atkinson takes the Joker on lap 3 here. It's something I think it's great to see, not just Hinch, but Connor Daly and Ed Carpenter as well getting involved in.
Yeah, certainly. Only raced part-time last year did James Hinchcliffe in IndyCar from Oakville, Ontario. The 34-year-old, always having fun, always been a great racer, won many races in IndyCar too, all the way back in 2013. Round number 1, wasn't it? Won the first race of the season, led the championship. Always had a promising career. So we've seen Atkinson take the Joker. We're still requiring 4 more. We are expecting, if you're the leader, there are only 3 tracks in Rallycross where the Joker is longer. It's not a shortcut. Brands Hatch is one. You've got the Circuit de Catalunya. You've got Hell Lunkenbahnen as well. Every other circuit is a shortcut. Or I should actually add to that. It's mostly the European circuits where
that's what I was going to say.
The long way around. And it's a shortcut for your North American venue. So that's why you've seen that. James Hinchcliffe takes to the Joker this time round. I think this race is done and dusted. I think Tanner Whitten and Martel are advancing to your feature race if they can keep it together on this final lap.
Whitten has very much been in control as well. I will say, Johnny, you are starting to see as the track kind of starts to slick up, the lines kind of converging a bit more, especially through Druids, where you talked about the Sim Racers line that we may see slightly later on. Not really such a thing in this third heat of the day. Not sure if that's just a driver adjustment or if that's just the track slicking up. But down into the Joker, Whitten and Martel should go. Might be an opportunity for the Subaru to slip down the inside. Whitten slightly wider. Can Martel set up the run? Bumping and banging their way through on those anti-cut curves. Might give the opportunity for the 21, but Whitten just about holds on in the Fiesta. Victory in heat number 3, and he'll start third from last in our feature race. Last chance qualifiers just about to come up, and Hinchcliffe, Atkinson, and Williams move into that.
As much as Tanner Whitten tried to tank that win, he'll have to start behind Connor Martel because it's an inverted grid for the feature, don't forget. So pretty sure Connor Martel did the right thing there by not attempting a move if he had the opportunity to do so. By the way, in the background, James Hinchcliffe was just sent flying into the air about 500 meters. We just missed that off shot, and he comes home in third. Luckily, it's a quick press of the escape button. He'll get to reset that Volkswagen Beetle and head out there for your LCQ coming up in a few moments' time. So the top 2 advance. 4 drivers will go through in your LCQs to the feature. We're going to take 4 more, and it's going to be one and only LCQ here with Mario Bonfanni Jr. starting on pole.
Actually, looks like Blake Bilko Williams alongside Ron Capps on the front row. Mikey Lawrence and James Hinchcliffe row 2.
Excuse me. Yes.
And then Connor Daly rounds out the 5-car grid. So slightly smaller. How many cars advance, you wonder? Looks like
it'll
2
be
of these.
2. 2 in each LCQ, yep.
Should be 2. That will make things very, very interesting then, because 3 of these cars will go home. 2 of them into the feature here from Brands Hatch, the first of our iRX All-Star Invitationals in 2021, as some of the best dirt track racers sling some virtual dirt on the iRacing.com service. Waiting for the green flag then here, as it will be Ron Capps and Blake Bilko Williams, who once more finds himself all the way on the inside of the pit wall. Lights illuminate, engines rev, car squat down, and Blake Bilko Williams disappears for a second, but Hinchcliffe does not get off the line at all, so I'm not sure if there's maybe some technical issues there, but side-by-side Caps makes contact. Oh, and it's a traffic jam at turn number 1. And who is it that scampers on through? Mikey Lawrence, Johnny, up into P1.
Well, Merry Christmas, James Hinchcliffe, because he's back in this race after that behemoth of a start there. And so who's in first position? Mikey Lawrence from Blake Bilko Williams in the second position at the moment. So Connor Daly's right behind in third, Ron Capps in fourth. Believe it or not, all cars still running, including James Hinchcliffe. Now, the way that James Hinchcliffe's car was actually drifting off to the side, he may have had the handbrake engaged accidentally. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Potentially, hopefully we get a word from him later on, but it's only a top 2 that advance. Everybody else we're going to say goodbye to. Does anybody take to the Joker this time round? Yes, and it's Ron Capps.
And very, very sideways there. That will slow him down even further. Out here comes, though, Blake Bilko Williams in second. Mikey Lawrence, 1.9 seconds clear as we finish lap 1 here at Brands Hatch. Very high speed down into turn 1 as Bilko Williams covers the inside. You can see that these cars are locking up the inside front, and it doesn't seem to be affecting them too much. Here comes Hinchcliffe, though, trying to get the run on Daly. Contact between the two of them through the chicane. And I think Daly's going to have to cover the inside here because the Beetle looks to try and get the move done. He slides up into the path of the USF for Subaru. And James Hinchcliffe, after not getting off the line well at all, Johnny, up into third position.
Did not hoover up the jump there at all, did James Hinchcliffe. And somehow keeps it pointing in a straight line on the exit. So it's these drivers we're watching up on screen battling it out. But at the moment, Hinchcliffe's made his way up into second as we ride on board with the Andretti Autosport driver. And he'll head through Clark Curve, the final corner of Brands Hatch. How beautiful is it? We get to see most of Brands Hatch used, at least the Indy layout, in this Rallycross circuit. Connor Daly up the inside of Bilko Williams into turn 1. That's an early braking point by Bilko Williams. You can sometimes brake at the 100-meter board. He's gone straight to 150.
I think just maybe memories of what happened at lap 1 there, Johnny. Doesn't want to get involved in more contact because there's still potential as they're bumping and banging coming into the hairpin. Oh, they're both off into the gravel. Ron Capps, who has already taken the Joker, Johnny. That's very important. Will be lurking in the background. And if Hinchcliffe has any sort of an issue right now, Ron Capps is very much in the driver's seat.
Yeah, potentially. So what are the gaps now? I think Ron Capps got the gap on James Hinchcliffe for the moment. About 3.3 seconds between the two. Remember, it's a 1.9 second Joker if there's traffic, because you can hold up the other guy behind on the exit. Now, if you're on your own, it's a 2.1 second Joker, because you calculated all the way to the start-finish line, and you don't get the best of runs coming out of the Joker, which is why you're a bit slower and lose those 2 extra tenths. Hinchcliffe into the wall at turn 1, and he has given up a potential transfer position. He slotted all the way just in front of Ron Capps in the last position.
And the big loser there, if anything, is Ron Capps, because the potential that Capps had to jump Connor Daly and Bilko Williams through the Joker has now completely disappeared. It's Connor Daly in the USF for Subaru, 4.7 seconds adrift from Mikey Lawrence, who is very much in control of this race. It might now be a 2-horse battle for that second and final transfer spot. Connor Daly versus Blake Bilko Williams. Who would have thought, Johnny, that in 2021 these two names would be competing side by side? Now let's take a look at this incident, though, for James Hinchcliffe, just getting the turn-in point wrong and clips the inside wall.
Yeah, now, he didn't lock up? Oh, it might have been a minor lock-up there. Did he yoink the handbrake even heading into turn 1? It's unnecessary in this car. You don't
Ooh,
need to.
Daly! Around on the start-finish straight as well. That is a bizarre place as the white flag flies. James Hinchcliffe is going to get on past Ron Capps as well. And Bilko Williams up into second as there's all sorts of chaos into turn 1 as well. Bilko Williams is on the track, off the track. It was contact between Williams and Daly, Johnny.
I think this race is over right now because Lawrence and Williams have the gap on everybody else. Mikey Lawrence has taken the Joker, and Bilko Williams should advance to the feature. How about that for an ending on this final lap? Everybody else is just too far behind, and they're all spread out and split apart right now. Looks like Mikey Lawrence will advance. Congratulations to him.
We haven't even talked about him in this LCQ, but that's because basically lights to flag for him. He'll take victory here, make his way into the feature as Blake Bilko Williams down into the Joker as well. Should be Mikey Lawrence then in the 2-2 of Williams to advances. You see hop, skip, and a jump there through the Joker. Here comes Hinchcliffe trying to take advantage, but it will be too little too late. Hinchcliffe doesn't advance. He'll be looking to come back in a couple of weeks' time as some contact after the fact as well. It's just a bit of fun for these guys, Johnny, and I think this really epitomizes that.
Yeah, definitely. Mikey Lawrence has raced in off-road racing in the real world. This will be nothing new to him. And he wins by, that is one of the largest margins I've ever seen in Rallycross right there. In the Sim Racers World Championship, the largest ever victory gap we had in the feature was 8.1 seconds. That right there absolutely blitzes that by a country mile. And Bilko Williams will join him in the feature, both racing in California, but both not from California. Here's the grid I read out earlier incorrectly. Mario Bonfanti Jr. starts from first alongside Jim Deschamps. So it's a 2x2 grid, as we said. Chris Atkinson on the outside of Mike McKinney on the second row. And it's important this race for Kevin Hansen to make his way into a transfer position. If he's not in the feature, it is a round to forget.
And I think what we saw in the last of those consolation races as they were is the entertainment and the excitement starts to ratchet up. So 10 seconds left before the cars begin this final consolation race. Next up, it is the feature in 10 laps to decide the first of our iRX All-Star Invitational winners in 2021. But for now, 6 cars, 2 slots in the feature. Front row is Bonfanti and Jim Deschamps. They have not enjoyed the best of runs so far today. Can this be the difference maker for them? Away we go then. Good launch from row 2 of the grid. Row 3 gets blocked off. Nowhere for Kevin Hansen to make a look as they contact between all 3 of them. Oh, it's going to be a traffic jam once more, Johnny. Who's going to be able to scamper through? Because Chris Atkinson and Ed Carpenter further contact. And there goes Mike McKinney into the race lead.
So importantly, 2 of your quickest drivers in this LCQ of Atkinson and Hansen in second and third. They've got to make a move on Mike McKinney shortly. McKinney on the radio. They've got an all-drivers radio there. They can all hear each other and trash talk and sledge if they want as well. Although they got to keep it friendly. And here we ride on board with Atkinson, who's made a mockery of the jump and now has been unable to rejoin the circuit at Graham Hill Bend. He's fallen all the way back to second last.
And Kevin Hansen almost made his way into the wall all by himself. He's sitting in second, takes to the Joker now. A very interesting line there. Cuts onto the anti-cut curbs as well. Deschamps gets the regular line, all sorts of wrong. It's Mike McKinney in the race lead by 3 seconds from Kevin Hansen in second. Deschamps is all over the rear end right now of Kevin Hansen, who's getting loose into the wall. There must be some sort of technical failure as Hansen goes for a flip.
Well, you say technical failure. That's very generous of you. I'm not sure if he's got a suspension or steering failure in the car, but he is certainly struggling in that Beetle. It doesn't look good for Kevin Hansen at the moment. Watching off screen, he is struggling to get that Beetle around. I've never read in the rule book, as there's a very unique line there by the Nitro Circus Subaru of Jim Deschamps, but we don't have a rule for... I mean, what happens if none of your drivers finish the race? Does anybody advance? I've never had to consider that in Rallycross, but we're 2 laps in, Arjuna, and I think we might have to look into creating a rule for that liking.
Well, we might have to also think about, you talked about the gap between first and second in the last race. It's already 9 between McKinney and Deschamps.
Oh my goodness.
This is Bonfanti and Atkinson third and fourth. We're definitely going to see some big gaps as Atkinson slips it down the inside of Bonfanti, who gets up into the grass there. Oh, the question I do have, Johnny, I said technical failure because I think for Kevin Hansen, it kind of looked as though the steering didn't go where he wanted it to go. Maybe it was a technical failure in terms of the hardware that he was using. Maybe it was also contact in through turn 1 because we saw a lot of bumping and banging, and you've seen it in the World Championship. You can damage your steering very easily in these cars.
Kevin Hansen, oh my goodness, Bonfanti Jr. upside down, just like Atlanta, and just like another couple of rounds as well. Luckily, he was helped pointing back the right way around by Ed Carpenter there. Kevin Hansen's pulled it off. He's retired. I was watching an onboard shot of him off screen, and that steering wheel looked like it was pointing 90 degrees to the left on the straight. That's how bad his steering damage was. So certainly a technical issue for him with that car. I think he's just damaged it on that first lap. surprised that his car was the most fragile. It seemed like everybody was involved in some form of incident.
Well, the gap between first and second, Johnny, just if you're curious, Atkinson is actually going to get on past Jim DeChamp. As you can see there, Atkinson already joked, as has McKinney. 13.7, but don't count out Atkinson, I think, to close this one to McKinney. And at the end of the day, the important thing here, who starts on pole position in the feature race? Oh, Chris Atkinson, if he finishes in second.
Yeah, which is reward by unintentional... or an unintentional reward for Atkinson, the New Zealander, who is... Did I just say New Zealander? Excuse me, the Australian. How disrespectful to my own home nation as we see Dim Deschamps to the outside. I was too busy thinking... I'm not even going to go into what my thinking is at this time of the morning right now in Australia, but he has raced as well in the World Rally Championship, raced there in the mid-2000s up towards about 2009 as well. Prior to racing, actually, in motorsport, Chris Atkinson, people forget, was a stockbroker. And he was very fond of that. Then entered racing, of course. Probably had the money to do so if he was a stockbroker, especially if he invested in the .com bubble. Checkered flag waves. McKinney first, Atkinson on pole for the feature.
It's still white flag, actually. One more lap to go here. And this is Deschamps and Carpenter. Oh, maybe the flagman, Barney, just getting a little bit too excited here because you can see these two cars still going very much head to toe. It is early in the morning for you, Johnny, but the wonderful thing about this type of an event is we're running it as a slightly different window to the World Championship. So it's an opportunity for people who aren't familiar with what iRacing and Rallycross looks like, as you see wonderful action here. Out front as Deschamps up into the outside wall. It is Mike McKinney across the line to take victory, and he will advance into our feature race. 10 laps on the other side of a brief warm-up period. Chris Atkinson should join him as well.
Well, Barney's still waving some form of flag there, probably the checkered flag this time around. We're in Brands Hatch, Barney. Get rid of the white flag. We don't need it. Everybody knows it's the final lap. If anything, I think the final lap of this race was lap 1. Everybody's car was banged up. And so there's Jim Deschamps. We say goodbye to him along with Ed Carpenter, who finished 3rd and 4th. And along with Mario Bonfanti Jr., Kevin Hansen, a DNF for this LCQ. Did a good job, Mario Bonfanti Jr., as we know. He is a quadriplegic. Very difficult for him to race. And he will round up the field here. 16-second advantage from first to second. I don't take stats for the All-Star Invitational, Arjuna, all every now and then for gap from first to second, but it certainly blitzed the sim racers' biggest gap between first and second by double the amount.
Well, and now we get that warm-up underway. A quick 5-minute break, but a quick look at these final results from that second of the consolation races. Mike McKinney, 16.5 seconds clear of Chris Atkinson in the 0.55. Ed Carpenter in 3rd, but that will be day done for the U.S. Air Force Subaru. Dim Deschamps in the 111, 4th, with Mario Bonfanti Jr. in 5th, and Kevin Hansen appears to have some steering damage, finishes in 6th, not where he would have wanted to end up. So we're going to take a quick break here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. Don't go anywhere. On the other side of this is the feature race with some of the best in Rallycross in the real world.
Nitro Rallycross took the racing world by storm with the biggest jumps.
That is what Travis was hoping for.
The best drivers. And the most intense action ever.
Fill up the inside again. We've got 3 cars.
In 2021, Nitro Rallycross is expanding with 5 epic races across North America. Designed by Travis Pastrana, each brand new, purpose-built course will be the biggest, fastest, and craziest the sport has ever seen. From the mountains to the Great Lakes, the desert, and the Sunshine State, Nitro Rallycross is coming to a racetrack near you.
Oh, and that goes sideways over the jump. He spins. Maybe there was contact on the way.
Ken Block,
Wow, it's like they're launching out of a machine gun.
Nitro Rallycross, the series, revving up and taking off this September.
Back live on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live here with round one in the iRacing iRX All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. Now's the season to save. Take on the open road with a new set of high-performance Yokohama tires. Yokohama customers receive a rebate in the form of a Visa prepaid card or Visa virtual account with the purchase of 4 select Yokohama tires between April 1st to May 2nd. For more information, visit yokohamatire.com. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Alongside for the action is Jonathan Simon with Tyler Maxon in the production booth controlling all of the action. And Johnny, it was a very interesting 5 races that we just saw. 3 heats and 2 consolations. And now the pro racers, they've got 10 laps to decide the first of our iRX All-Star Invitational winners in 2021.
Well, big news we learned out of that LCQ, that last chance qualifier, is that we say goodbye to our pole position sitter, Kevin Hansen. He has not made it through to our final feature race, which houses our 10 quickest drivers out there in the field, and a bit of funny trash talk behind the scenes, or a bit of friendly talk between Andreas Backerud and Kevin Hansen. Andreas telling Kevin he needed to watch his race from Estering in 2016 to learn how to bring that car to the finish. For anybody that might be out of context, that was when Andreas Backerud brought a car that essentially had 3 wheels, in a sense, had broken steering, and still won the race. That was extraordinary from Andreas Backerud. Certainly his most famous moment of his Rallycross career.
And one of the greatest things about this All-Star Invitational is not just that camaraderie between drivers who I'm sure are very familiar with one another, in Kevin Hansen and Andreas Backerud, but the likes of Scott Speed and James Hinchcliffe all intermingling as well, Johnny, here today.
Yeah, certainly. All the Americans, the Canadians, we've got Norwegians, Swedes out there as well, Australians, Brits, so many more racing. And there's going to be 10 of the best here racing in this final feature race, from Chris Atkinson, who will start from pole, Arjuna. But we know pole means nothing at this stage because the amount of pile-ups we've had into turn 1 has been extraordinary. Now, I'll tell you what, the track design is pretty much designed to have not chaos into turn 1, but a good overtaking opportunity into that first corner. It's a very deep braking zone from high speeds. So if you start on pole, it's not all signed, sealed, delivered that you will hold first position heading into Paddock Hill Bend.
And the run then down into Druids as well. We've seen bumping and banging there with people trying to move cars out of the way. Let's take a look then at our starting grid, though, for round 1 in the iRacing iRX All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. It is Chris Atkinson in the Subaru Blue and Gold that starts on the inside of this row, with Blake Bilko Williams on his outside. Mike McKinney and Mikey Lawrence, they share row 2 on this grid, with Connor Martell and Scott Speed row 3. Andreas Backerud and Tanner Whitten, they're row 4, with Henrik Krogstad and Tim Stevens rounding out the 10-car grid. A prediction from you, Johnny, very, very quickly. Who do you think will come out on top?
Oh, don't ask me that, Arjuna. Come on. Have you seen the other 5 races we've just had? Not sure. I reckon grab a 10-sided dice and roll that one.
That's why I always like to put people on the spot, because when, and it does happen sometimes, Johnny, the commentators get things right, we tend to then look like geniuses, but still waiting for Chris Atkinson to join up on the grid here. 10 cars, 10 laps, and 1 winner from Brands Hatch. That jump is going to be oh so crucial, as is the launch down in towards turn number 1. Engines begin to rev as the lights illuminate here. One of the newest tracks on the iRacing service. A fictional layout, but Brands Hatch has Rallycross heritage. Great jump from Connor Martell is 4 wide. They fly their way down in towards turn number 1. It's Backerud who makes contact with Atkinson. That causes a bit of a traffic jam. No, it was Bilko Williams who in fact got turned around there, Johnny. Atkinson screams into the race lead, and I think it's Backerud, in fact, in second.
Good start from Backerud for sure. So Atkinson in first, as you confirm, and Backerud potentially to the first position here. Atkinson has absolutely missed the apex by a country mile. Big mistake by Chris Atkinson, the Australian, hands the lead to the Norwegian of Andreas Bakkerud. Now, at the start, you saw Tim Stevens go nowhere off the line. I think that was just poor reaction time from Tim Stevens. He's in 6th. I think the motto of what we learnt here at the starts is head to the inside line. That's your best bet. And that is a very interesting strategy. We've seen a joker from Atkinson and Tim Stevens at the back a shot. That's going to hand them into a whole lot of traffic here in the early laps. I don't like that strategy at all.
Oh, and he's, I think, was hoping to maybe come out in front of Martel, but in fact cycles out into 4th position with Tanner Whitten in the Ford right behind him as they break down into the heavy braking zone of Turn 1. Bakkerud, Krogstad, Martel, Atkinson, and Whitten. That's the top 5, Johnny. And now you have at the front of your field a couple of cars that, like you said, have really worked their way up on these launches, and it sets up, I think, an interesting thing for these sim races as Whitten barges Atkinson out of the way. It hurts the car that's taken jokers, but we do need to watch out on these launches now because clearly there are people that are finding lots of grip further back in the pack.
Yeah, certainly. So we've got 3 different dark horses in your top 3 positions. Andreas Bakkerud, who almost won the All-Star Invitational last year at Sonoma, only raced in the final few rounds, but he certainly got the speed to win. Does the Norwegian. You've got Henrik Krogstad, who raced with the sim racers. That's how quick he is. He is certainly one of the best in the world in that respect. Races for Hanson Williams Esports. And then you've got Connor Martel, who raced for Dreyer and Reinbold Racing. And the Hammer, as he's known, hammers it into the apex of turn number 1. And he has won races of the All-Star Invitational. So you've got 3 different drivers here who are all in realistic contention of taking feature race victory.
And at least in the case of Krogstad and Martel, relatively young. Martel, 23 years of age, as is Krogstad. Bakkerud, slightly older, but still very young in his racing career. Gap between 1st and 2nd, as you see Bakkerud slip and slide his way down the hill, back onto the main circuit itself. 2.1 seconds, Johnny, and all of this fighting between Krogstad and Martel, it's not necessarily letting Bakkerud run away with this race, and that lets, I think, Chris Atkinson, who is struggling on the Joker now, the first car to have taken it. He's being pressured by Tim Stevens, and there's no real hope, I think, for Atkinson to really challenge a Bakkerud right now.
No, certainly not. I didn't like that first lap Joker strategy at all, as we see a whole lot of drivers here in a whole lot of positions. We've got to, now you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, anyone with the highlighted little Joker crown has taken that Joker lap. It is required. Whether or not you want to take it, you need to take it once and once only during the race. As we see a nice little scrap here between Stevens and is that Chris Atkinson? Yes, it is. Chris Atkinson right up ahead of him in the car expert Subaru. And right behind them is Scott Speed. Very unlikely, or very unlike Scott Speed to be down in 7th. He is always in or up amongst those drivers in the first position winning these All-Star Invitational, but he was involved in a whole heap of collisions there on the first lap. Makes his way around Chris Atkinson, who has been disposed by both of them. 2 positions lost, and Atkinson turns around Scott Speed. He won't be happy with that at all.
But watch the pace from Tim Stevens right now. Very, very impressed at how he pulled away from Chris Atkinson, as I think Tanner Whitten has come down onto the Joker this last time around as well. So now he is the leading car to have taken the slightly longer lap, as I think Chris Atkinson into the wall at turn 1 as well. Here, though, is the Henrik Krogstad Connor Martel battle. Still closing now on Andreas Bakkerud. Gap down to 1.6 seconds as Martel gets it wrong over the jump. Can he hold on to that car, slipping and sliding his way through the left-hand corner? And just about holds on, Johnny.
Yeah, I was waiting for him to appear in shot. That's what we needed there. It was like old-fashioned Formula One back in the 1960s. Just take the stopwatch, and if the guy doesn't appear the next time by, you know he's had an accident somewhere in the circuit. And unfortunately, one of these corners, the final corner, Clark Curve, that's how they actually found out that Jim Clark passed away over at Hockenheim in Formula 2. Very sad story for Jim Clark. He's one of the best drivers of all time in motor racing. Here's a replay of what happened to Martel. You saw butchered the jump on the entry. It's very difficult. Looks easy. Looks straight, doesn't it? But it's not as easy as you might think. Henrik Krogstad right now on a hunt towards a race victory. The gap 1.7 seconds. Both these drivers right now need to take the Joker lap.
Tim
both heading
Stevens
to victory. Yeah.
Tim Stevens down the order into 8th. He's had it off at turn 1. Scott Speed has had his own issue. Retired in this race. He will finish in 10th position. Not where you expect a driver like Scott Speed to necessarily end up. Like Johnny says, though, focusing on the battle out front, as we will get a replay of what happened to Stevens down into the heavy braking zone at turn 1. And you can see just gets it slightly wrong. You see the puff of smoke in front of him. Turns in too early. And just like we saw for James Hinchcliffe slightly earlier on, Stevens has to do a bit of a 360. Back to live coverage, though. Krogstad, 2.7 seconds, 3 seconds, because he's come down the Joker this time around, Johnny.
Yeah, I don't think you need the handbrake through turn 1. You can see Krogstad there driving it perfectly without the handbrake. So by yoinking that handbrake, as fun as it is, it's unnecessary. So Krogstad's taken the Joker that time by. So it's lit up on the left-hand side of the screen. So he has officially taken the Joker, and that means Bakkerud needs to monitor the gaps. 3.1 seconds the gap between the two Norwegians. We will most likely see a driver from Norway win this race. But if the gap's 1.9 to 2.1 seconds, it will be a drag race to the finish line. This is what this circuit invites. This is how it was designed. I'm looking forward to this finish.
And it's Bakkerud who will be in the prime position to block off the momentum for Krogstad if it's close enough. But, of course, just superior speed on the side of the 77. It will be 3 laps to go this time around. It's Andreas Bakkerud leads from Henrik Krogstad, Conor Martel in 3rd, Tanner Witt in 4th, as we're watching Chris Atkinson off into the grass very briefly. Mikey Lawrence, who took victory in the second of our consolation races, up into 6th. Still yet, I think, for the car in front to come down onto pit road. Come down onto the Joker, Johnny. Excuse me there.
That's fine. Chris Atkinson, it's April here. He's missed summer by about 4 months because he keeps trying to make a few trips to the beach there, doesn't he? In the gravel at the outside of Clark Curve. Probably still needs a tan, doesn't he? As we ride on board with Chris. He's initially was a co-driver for his brother Ben, as we see one driver stricken off ahead of them. Now, is that Mike McKinney, I believe? It might be Mike McKinney, who's made a mistake heading through Graham Hill Bend. I was about to say about Atkinson, I was trying to fit in a nice little nifty fact there. Was a co-driver for his brother Ben. They switched roles, and he never looked back for his racing career. But for the moment, Mike McKinney has made that error on the approach to Graham Hill Bend. Luckily keeps his positions. Now the gap for the lead here. Bakkerud has taken the Joker. It's now half a second between the two, with a couple of laps remaining.
It's 2 laps as we'll take a quick look at the replay for McKinney over the jump. Once more, just lands slightly wrong. Rejoin maybe not the safest as well, but no harm, no foul. Like Johnny says, 7/10 is the gap, but I do think, Johnny, Bakkerud is in control because Krogstad, while he's being quick, has not really been close enough to try anything in the first 9 laps of this race.
And that's IQ for you, a driver of Andreas Bakkerud, who races in the FIA World Rallycross Championship. Henrik Krogstad looking to make the full-time move from RX2 to that top division. Bakkerud wondering, hey, I don't want to drag race to the finish here and make it exciting. I want to win this race. I'm going to take the Joker early and block that track position. Krogstad has missed his braking point into turn 1 on the final lap, and I think he's given up the victory to Andreas Bakkerud, or at least the opportunity for a victory. Looks like Bakkerud, the Norwegian, will finally take the top step of the podium in one of these All-Star Invitationals.
He's had some fun in these All-Star Invitationals before, but like you say, no victory just yet as we pick up Conor Martel and Tanner Whitten. Whitten has gone and passed in the Ford up into the podium positions, but watching Bakkerud and Krogstad as well as they come up into the final couple of corners. It's been an interesting 10 laps. Contact between Martel and Whitten. They will continue to duel it out for the final step of the podium. Almost dumping Whitten is Martel. But out of the final corner, it is Andreas Bakkerud, driver for RX Cartel in the real world. In the sim, though, in that Subaru Monster Energy colors, victory in the 13. And Johnny, like you said, I think finally gets the reward that he kind of wants from these events because he's been a regular competitor in these invitational events.
Yeah, brilliant stuff by the Norwegian. It's a Norway 1-2. I guess they can be happy with that, can Henrik Krogstad. Henrik Krogstad, a big favourite to win this one as well. He's very quick, and he'll be lamenting that mistake into turn 1. I think he was in with a real shot had he not made that mistake. And then Tanner Whitten with a podium. Wasn't expecting that at all entering this round. I really thought Conor Martel or Scott Speed may have rounded out the podium today. There are the results on screen. Scott Speed a DNF, of course, but Connor Martel will be back racing again, hopefully, in the next 3 rounds of this All-Star Invitational. If you were excited about this one, I have to say, Arjuna, we've got 3 more of these coming up over the next month or 2.
And that's some very exciting tracks as well. Quick just point to point out here is Baccarat up 6 in this feature. Krogstad up 7. Whidden was up 5. So we just have to watch and see to potentially think about cars working their way up through these features. Not sure, Johnny, if we're going to get any interviews here, but looking forward to potentially getting a chat with the likes of Andreas Baccarat, Henrik Krogstad, and Tanner Whidden as well.
Yeah, certainly. I'd love to speak to Andreas. He's one of my favorite drivers in Rallycross for sure. He's very quick in the cars, as we know, but he's an awesome personality as well. As good of a personality as he is a driver. For Henrik Krogstad, who, of course, will be disappointed he didn't win this one, but it's all in good fun. So good on them for finishing 1-2. Hopefully in future weeks. It seems for Scott Speed, in future weeks, I hope he has some luck to his side. He either has super bad luck or the best luck out of anyone in the field, and today was on the first end of the scale.
Well, it doesn't look like we're going to get Baccarat or Krogstad in. Let's see if Tanner Whidden is standing by, one of the few Fords in our field. Podium for him, and Jonathan Simon, take it away.
Tanner Whidden, we got you first of all. Just double checking if you're there, Tanner. Can you hear us? So we'll get back to you on that, ladies and gentlemen. So Tanner Whidden, who's unavailable at the moment right now, he was an iRX driver as well. He's been racing since he was 10 years old, Arjuna. So a lot of experience racing in Rallycross machinery from Red Bull GRC. He's also raced in the FIA World Rallycross Championship and competed in some IMSA competition as well. He rounds out the podium there. Hopefully we get him sometime soon so we can have a chat to him, Arjuna. But good to see him on the podium. Like I said, he was in some of these events last year, but never saw him in the top 3.
And like you said, Johnny, I mean, we have more of these. We'll have a week off after this. Then we'll head into the month of May and a couple of races there. And the final round will be from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. That will be wonderful. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break here. The pros are done. Sim Racing's finest about to head on to the track here at Brands Hatch. Don't go anywhere. Here live on iRacing Live.
Today's new cars have upwards of 100 computers in them, and a dashboard rivaled only by a commercial airliner. But wouldn't it be nice to really know what all that does for you? At Roadshow, we demystify the world of modern transportation with reviews of your next car, the latest news on what's changing the industry, and videos covering every screen and every new feature you'll encounter in the driver's seat. Get informed, get smart, and get going with Roadshow.
In 2018, Nitro Rallycross took the racing world by storm with the biggest jumps.
That is what Travis is hoping for.
The best drivers. And the most intense action ever.
It's gone up the inside of Ken. We've got 3 cars.
In 2021, Nitro Rallycross is expanding with 5 epic races across North America. Designed by Travis Pastrana, each brand new, purpose-built course will be the biggest, fastest, and craziest the sport has ever seen. From the mountains to the Great Lakes, the desert, and the Sunshine State, Nitro Rallycross is coming to a racetrack near you.
Oh, and that goes sideways over the jump. He spins. Maybe there was contact on the way.
Ken Block, unbelievable. Wow, it's like they're launching out of a machine gun.
Nitro Rallycross, the series, revving up and taking off this September.
Back live from the virtual Brands Hatch for the first round in the 2021 iRacing iRX All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. Andreas Baccarat has taken victory as the world's best in Rallycross and dirt ventured onto the iRacing service to feed their need for speed, and now sim racing's finest will do battle at one of the newest tracks on the iRacing schedule. Yokohama is the proud partner of the iRX All-Star Invitational, and now's the time to save. Take on the open road with a new set of high-performance Yokohama tires. Yokohama customers receive a rebate in the form of a Visa prepaid card or a Visa virtual account with a purchase of 4 select Yokohama tires between April 1st to May 2nd, 2021. For more information, visit yokohamatire.com. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Alongside is Jonathan Simon with Tyler Maxon down in the production booth controlling all of the action. And Johnny, qualifying underway for sim racing's finest right now, and very interested in what we'll see here today. We've got upwards of 25 different cars, some prior World Championship competitors, including our world champion Johan Harth, and then some new names and some new faces looking to make their mark on the iRX community.
Yeah, certainly. So our top 10 from 2020 were invited into this All-Star Invitational. That's your top 10 in the standings from our 2020 season, along with any previous winners of the World Championships. So there were 4 more who weren't in the top 20. So you've got a total of 14 there at a minimum who are invited that do not need to qualify. Anybody else or any other roster spots we can fill come from a public time attack competition, and that's where drivers are allowed to set a hot lap and enter these events based on that hot lap. So you might see some new names today you may not be familiar with in the rally universe. We've got some quick ones, some young ones for the future, but I'll tell you what, that event format we've got up on screen, that is the one that we will be going with today. It's a full spoke of a grid right now, 4 heats coming up, 2 last chance qualifiers, and 1 big feature race at the end.
And with a couple more cars in this sim racing field, we'll have a few more heats, but still only 2 cars qualifying from each of them. Qualifying coming to a close then. Johnny, I want to get some predictions from you here, because this is not just the start of the iRX journey for some of these drivers, but the road to the World Championship as well. The qualifying series will get underway in a couple of months' time, and for some of these drivers, very important that they stand up strong here today.
Yeah, some of them are not too fussed about this. They're just here for a little bit of fun. How about that for an all front row? Set Esports as Joni Ollikainen and Tommy Horman head the front 2 rows. These were 2 drivers who were arguably in contention for the World Championship. I think they did finish in the top 5, but I think they both deserved a shot at that championship that Frenchman Johan Harth won in the end. Luis Nunez, a new talent to watch. He could qualify for the World Championship later on. Garrett Maines, top 10 in the championship last year, returns again along with the young Vicente Salas, the 18-year-old from Temecula in California, and Josh Edmondson, somebody we haven't seen in the world of Rallycross. He is new, along with Eddie Kerner as well. 2 drivers we haven't seen in either the Rallycross World Championships, either of those 3 seasons. Let's see how they fare here today in heat number 1. It's going to be a lot of nerves for those guys. This is the biggest stage they've ever raced on for most of them.
Well, you talk about nerves. Joni Ollikainen and Tommy Holman, that front row. 4 victories between Holman and Ollikainen in the 2020 World Championship Series. There's a lot of experience there. And then, of course, Vicente Salas, who did not necessarily enjoy his run in the World Championship Series last year, is coming off his first career eNASCAR Coca-Cola victory for Space Station Gaming at the Richmond Raceway. Lights to flag victory for him. Lots of confidence then on his side. We've still got 15 minutes left to go. Luis Nunez has recently joined up with the Logitech Gioltas esports team. One of their drivers, Bo Albert, was in World Championship competition last year with Andretti Autosports, teammates of Vicente Salas. Some interesting names, some new faces as well, as we get underway here in the sim racing portion of the iRacing iRX All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. 7 cars in the first heat race of the day. Lots of experience on the front row and then lots of experience further back, and it's the front row that gets a very nice launch. The Logitech Altus car defends all the way down to the inside into the grass and contact with Set Esports. And who is that? That's the 44 car, Joni Ollikainen, Johnny, that finds himself at the tail end of this field.
Well, nothing's changed for Joni from the World Championship last year. Complete bad luck for the young Finn. He'll be trying to scream his way back through the field. Top 2 advance, you do require a joker, just like our All-Star Invitational, although we don't have inverted grids. Ollikainen was our pole sitter. How about that screaming shot over the jump? So Horman leads so far. He is experienced, 2 race wins in Rallycross in his career. He's got a number of other podiums as well, and top 5 in the world is Tommy Horman. He has made a big step up in 2020. Here's our first shot of him in 2021. How big of a step up has he made in his 3rd season of Rallycross on iRacing?
Luis Nunez and Garrett Maines, they got together coming out of the hairpin, dropping down to the end of the field. So Ollikainen no longer lost, still potentially has a chance here. He's in 5th, as you can see, down the straightaway. So I think that was Eddie Kerner who's come down into the Joker on this first lap. Holman leads from Edmondson by 0.8 of a second. Luis Nunez is 0.3 further back as Vicente Salas is getting all sorts of sideways coming through that chicane. This is where we saw a bit of bumping and banging. Edmondson running that slightly alternate line that you might see early in these runs, Johnny, but as the track wears in and starts to just become a little bit more slick, it becomes a lot less grippy, and you'll see less cars migrating up to that outside line later in this event.
Yeah, potentially, but you want to head to the worn-out part of the circuit. It will be single line, though. It's like driving on a rain-filled street circuit, in a sense. Nunez looking to the inside and holds off the overtaking maneuver. How about that, though? As he makes the move on Josh Edmondson for the 2nd position. Your transfer spot. Now, Horman has pretty much almost covered the Joker gap already. He's about a couple of tenths off from covering that for the moment. Should be more accurate compared to our all-star drivers we had earlier on, because the sim racers are just so perfect. They do this for a living. Some of these drivers get paid $10,000 for your champion that Johan Hart, the Frenchman, won in last year's World Championship. $10,000 richer. And that's why these drivers put so much work in. How about Nunez? That is an abysmal line onto the jump. Maybe that's intentional. We're learning this circuit as we go, Arjuna. We've never seen our sim racers race at Brands Hatch before.
Yeah, this is the first competitive outing for this track. And like I said, the road to the World Championship really, in effect, starts today for a lot of these drivers. They're seeing what their competition has been up to in the last couple of months. And we'll see exactly how they've worked, as I think that's Salas trying to get to the inside of Edmondson across the start-finish line. Oh, they're going to make contact. Yes, they will. Into the braking zone. Salas down the inside. Edmondson is going to get forced on to the gravel. Just about holds on to that one. Here comes, though, Ollikainen after that contact early in the race, John. He still has a chance to maybe work his way up through the field, and no inverts in this race. So that also means for Tommy Holman, if he finishes at the lead of this heat, he will start in pole position in our feature.
Yeah, he won't have the hat trick, obviously. The hat trick is when you score pole position, a heat win, and feature win. We've had a few of those in Rallycross. Obviously, Ollikainen's the only driver who can do that after taking pole position. Now, this is still important for Joni Ollikainen. You might think, what's the point of making a move if you don't advance to the feature? This also sorts out grid position for your LCQs. They both head to the Joker at the same time, and we've seen an overtake into the Joker, something that's not new in the world of Rallycross, but something certainly new on iRacing in Rallycross. You don't see many overtakes into the Joker, and they rejoin alongside Eddie Kerner now, who's now slotted up the inside of Ollikainen. Ollikainen with track position into Paddock Hill Bend. He's clouded the barrier, I believe, and that allows Kerner to hold 4th position ahead of the young Finn.
The problem for all of these guys is with the white flag in the air, they're still side by side, costing each other time, as Ollikainen may be just searching for some grid position in the last chance qualifiers that he will be heading his way down into, as over the jump, almost 3 wide they work. At the front, though, Tommy Holman works his way into the final couple of corners, will come down onto the Joker this time around, as will Luis Nunez and Vicente Salas. So Tommy Holman, Set Esports driver, they rounded off the last World Championship season, in very dominant form. 2 second-place finishes and a victory in the final 3 races. And he starts his quest in 2021 for a World Championship in the best way possible. With a heat race victory here, Altus newcomer Luis Nunez advances to the feature as well. Salas, Ollikainen, Kerner, Edmondson, and Maines, Johnny, heading into our consolation races.
Yeah, well done to them. Good start from Luis Nunez in his first race in an official iRacing Rallycross event. You know what I mean by official, not the official series, but one of the All-Star Invitational, All-World Championship, All-Pro Series. Good on Luis Nunez there from Spain. And the rest of the drivers will head to your last chance qualifiers. Here's your world champion from 2020, starting alongside a very familiar face in the sim racing world. Kevin Ellis Jr. starts from second. He is trying to enter Rallycross this year. I've heard rumors. Kevin Ellis Jr., he may qualify for the World Championship. Matt Adams right behind the Canadian, along with the young Jacob Raffos. News on Jacob Raffos today. The young 13-year-old has signed with Set Promotion. He may represent them in the World Championship this year.
Row 3, it's Marcos Matamoros and Quentin Dalomo. So I think family relations there to one of our World Championship competitors in 2020. Final starter in this field will be Robbie Lareal, another newcomer to iRX. Many new faces now looking to make their impression then, as we are moments away from getting underway with the second heat race here. An Apex Racing Team front row is Johan Hart, joined by his teammate in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. Well, what can they do then in this iRX All-Star Invitational as the cars begin to rev up, lights illuminate, and we get underway. Not such a good start from Kevin Ellis, but the world champion straight away down into turn number 1, 3 wide for second position. Ellis slightly deep under the brakes, opens the door for the couple of cars to slip down the inside. Matt Adams up into second as the youngster Jacob Raffos, 13 years old, Jonathan, fights side by side with a world championship driver.
Yeah, the young Norwegian. The Norwegians have done really well today, but Matt Adams, the Canadian, right up ahead of him. It's be tough for Jacob Raffos to make a move from this stage onwards. 13 years old. He is a star in Rallycross in the future. Trying to make a move at Graham Hill Bend. Not really an overtaking spot. Going to be really lucky through there. But how about that from our world champion, Johan Hart, into first position and heading away to start on that front row with Tommy Horman. And for Kevin Ellis Jr., he's got the potential, doesn't he? Did he? Now, Arjun, you have to remind me. I'm not sure. I heard he won a race in the Porsche World Championship, didn't he, this year, potentially?
He did. It's been a breakout year. A breakout 24 months, if you ask me. Last year was the first signs of Kevin Ellis really starting to make his mark. And then victory in the opening round of the World Championship in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup at Interlagos. And now qualifies himself into this iRX All-Star Invitational. Looking very comfortable. And the one thing that you'd have to say, Johnny, if you want to learn a new form of racing, as this is, it's a totally different discipline that Kevin doesn't have much experience in. A world champion as his teammate, and not just the world champion, but John and Jake Robertson as well, who you got to see in 2020. It's a very strong ground that Kevin is able to fall back on.
Yeah, certainly. Set Promotion can fall back on this guy for the future. Sign him up for a 15-year baseball deal like they do or something, because Jacob Raffos is a star for the future. Still not there in terms of pace, but I certainly think this year will be the first he can qualify for the World Championship. On potential, we've seen an accident down the back of the pack.
Oh, no!
It was Matt Adams, and a huge collision. Matt Adams has collected both Quinton Dalomo and Robbie Lareal. They're going to be out of the race. I think both cars are total. I think Robbie Lareal for sure has popped the engine there.
We need to get a replay of that. It was Adams who was trying to rejoin from the Joker, and straight to the RaceSpot TV replay machine we will go. You can see the 17 slipping and sliding, trying to get the power down as he gets back onto the track. It was contact with Matamoros, I believe, and that is just unfortunate, Johnny. Not holding the brakes, and he takes out not one, but 2 different cars.
Well, as much as Robbie Lareal won't be pleased with that, he was almost sent into the pit lane. That's the beauty of sim racing. We get some nice wrecks that to remember, but good on the Robbie Lareal. In the real world, back sitting at home, he'll just have to scrub off probably some dust off his shoulders and get ready for the LCQs later on. He'll start towards the back of the pack. He's got some work to do. Now, you mentioned brothers. Quinton Dalomo is not just brothers with former World Championship driver Killian Dalomo. He's racing today. But they've also got Lucas Dalomo racing too. So the 3 of them, not triplets, but a trio of brothers. Quinton's the oldest at 21 years of age. Lucas 19, Killian at 17. We may potentially see all 3 in the iRacing World Championship this year if they qualify.
So we've got the Hansons in full medal rallycross. They've got that family tradition. Do we have another family forming now on the iRacing service, Jody?
Potentially. We've got John, Jake Robertson. You've got Alexi and Joni Heikkinen, who are also looking to qualify too. There's a lot of duos out there. in the field. A lot of brothers. Guess sim racing makes them all bond together. You talked about the Hansons too. Anybody else I'm forgetting? I watched an old Formula One race the other day. I saw Ralph Schumacher and Michael Schumacher. Maybe that counts.
I'm trying to give it the old college try, but at least not in sim racing. No one is popping into my mind as final lap then here at Brands Hatch. Kevin Ellis has done a smashing job, only 1 second behind his teammate and the world champion Johan Hart as they come around the hairpin. A good little run for the Apex Racing team. Their cars will be starting up front in these feature races. But of course, Johnny, you mentioned the Robertsons as well. There's more of these Apex Racing teammates lying in the wings.
Yeah, definitely. They've been very quick. Good to see an ART duo go through. Jacob Rafos, though, will have good grid position for your last chance qualifiers. They both take to the Joker. It's required. You'll see Jacob Rafos in the background. Absolutely sent it. He's almost sent that Subaru spinning as the young 13-year-old from Norway. So Hearth will start on the front row alongside Horman. Ellis Jr. will be on the second row. And they will both advance. So Ellis Jr. will be joined by Luis Nunez on that second row. Don't forget, Ellis Jr. will be on the outside. So will Hearth. So you've got an ART duo on the outside heading into an easy overtaking spot in the feature. That's going to be an interesting event later on today.
Here are the race results. Hart and Ellis Jr., the Apex Racing teammates, advance everyone else into our next of the last chance qualifier. Still waiting, I think, for a final car to come across the line. But let's get you the grid then for the third of our heats. And we were talking about the Robertson brothers. They are in this third one. John Robertson, a second place in the championship, losing out to his Team Yokohama teammate in the final race inside of the grid here with Killian Del Olmo on his outside. Jake Robertson and Jarrett Lee Bear, row number 2 there with Luke Krause, who made a number of appearances last year in the World Championship, alongside a very strong name, Joni Heikkinen, who's recently signed up with Williams Esports. Bobby Zelensky rounds out the 7-car field, and one Johnny that I think has a lot of World Championship experience.
Yeah, Zelensky almost NASCAR World Champion last year. How about that for Joni Heikkinen, who retired basically from Rallycross, gave up his license, which ironically actually gifted his brother a license into the World Championship. And if that doesn't tell you Joni Heikkinen's serious about a return, his pace may be good today, but certainly his social media presence, because he has signed with Williams, as you said, and he is making a run back to the World Championship. He was almost a world champion in 2018. He's got the second most wins of all time. Let's see how he fares from the back.
He has lots of work to do, but he is on the outside in the Williams colors for the very first time. And once more, the lights illuminate, engines rev. We get underway for Heat 3. Wonderful launch for Heikkinen on the outside. Already up into 4th position as we sweep our way down into turn 1. John Robertson able to hold off for now, but Del Olmo sweeps into the race lead. Here comes Heikkinen to the inside of the second of the Robertsons. There was a bit of contact there, Johnny. I'm not sure if Jake Robertson is going to appreciate that so much.
Well, Jake Robertson's already retired from the race. I would have kept racing, son, the way that the contact's been going on today, but he will start from the back in your LCQs. So it's it's Killian who leads at the moment from John Robertson. So another Del Olmo, like we said. Lucas not racing today, but John Robertson, who was leading the World Championship from round 2 onwards up until the final round, and then lost it to his teammate Johan Hart. But Heikkinen with a start of a dream right there. Now, the good thing for Heikkinen is he went straight to the inside line, and it worked out for the best. Like I told you, Arjuna, you want to go for the inside, don't you, into turn 1, it seems. That's what we're learning here from these races at Brands Hatch.
And this is all what I like to call data downloading, right, Johnny? These are opportunities for these drivers to figure out what the best move is as Del Olmo clips the inside wall. Robertson not able to take advantage here on lap 2. But as you head into the feature, setting your launch RPM, figuring out how you want to release all your inputs and launch yourself off the line. It's an opportunity to get things wrong. And if you're Heikkinen, an opportunity to find out the best way to launch yourself off the grid.
Good stuff from Robertson there. Just catch a glimpse of this middle sector of Brands Hatch. Now, Robertson has 1 career win to his name. It would be nice to grab another one here today. Now, they haven't put much practice in, you can tell, because normally the field's very jumbled up, isn't it, today? It's a little random because some drivers have come in here with literally, I would say, no more than 10 minutes of worth of practice. Others have come in with a bit more, knowing that they have something to prove. And as we see with Joni Heikkinen, it's going to take him some time Arjuna to get back up to his World Championship pace. He was so close towards the World Championship in 2018. It came down to the final round between he and Mitchell de Jong. And then he raced in 2019, wasn't as good as he was, and then just needed a break from Rallycross. Get himself sorted mentally. It's good to see him back. He is one of the most underrated iRacers out there, for sure. He's quick in any car you put him. I've seen him race in open wheelers, in tin tops. He's very, very good. Now, where is he up on screen? I haven't seen him there. Is he off? No, he's gone to the Joker as Joni Heikkinen. So good strategy by him. He's going to let the top two fight here for the transfer positions. If they're smart, they won't battle it out. But if they're not, they'll want that grid position, won't they, for the feature? And that's not going to help John Robertson, dealing with some technical issues up ahead of him.
Oh, well, watch for the lap times now as well, because these guys are nose to tail, and you can see coming over the anti-cut curves, Robertson is all over the rear end of Delomo. Heikkinen has cycled out right in front of Luke Kraus, so as long as there's not contact between the two of them, there was, but Heikkinen holds on, doesn't lose too much time either as he comes across the jump. I don't think he's going to be looking in his rearview mirrors with too much happiness as Luke Kraus still slides that car in, tries to apply the pressure. But look at the pressure that Robertson is applying down into the Joker. Not going to commit this time. Yes, he does. Slight contact. But the Apex Racing Team driver bumps his way into the Joker and into the wall as well, Johnny.
Well, I'm not sure if that was deliberate or he's missed his braking point. But look at the exit right now. Now, what's the gap between the two? If it's not 2.1 seconds, Delomo's got this. So across the line, we'll get an update on that. It's 1.6. I think whacking the walls helped John Robertson there.
And Heikkinen, with all of the battling with Kraus and the minor contact, is not even in a position to take advantage of anything that would happen on the potential Joker merge here. So final lap, and it's Heikkinen versus Kraus, both of whom, of course, have already taken to the Joker. Waiting then for Killian Delomo in the Set Esports. Number 18 machine sliding his way through the left-hand hairpin. Robertson 1.8 seconds behind here as Bobby Zelensky has unfortunately had his own issue and will finish at the tail end of this field. Lots of work to do. Important Joker entry though for Delomo. Look at the launch, Johnny. Very impressive in terms of speed, but watch the line that Robertson's taking, trying to get the power down. It's not going to be close enough, I think.
I think he's got it. He's going to have the speed, and smart move by John Robertson to the inside. I told you don't get the best run coming out of the exit, and that is going to hand the win to John Robertson. Somehow smacking the wall at the Joker helped him gain a couple of tenths there. So John Robertson, you're almost world champion in 2020. Will head home in the first position. Wasn't happy with that, John Robertson, when he lost the world championship. Rightly so. I don't think anybody would be happy with that. It sounds like a silly comment to make. But Killian Delomo comes home in second. He won't be happy with that either, coming home in second there towards the end of the race. I think he tried to block Robertson, but probably wasn't expecting Robertson to dive to the inside. And then Heikkinen with a good return to Rallycross. And I tell you what, Arjuna, about Bobby Zelensky, I won't be surprised if this is the first time he's driven a Rallycross car since the final round last year.
I would not be either. By the way, I think Delomo could have been more aggressive on that block, so maybe that's what we'll see at the feature. Quick look, though, at the third of our heats here. It's Connor Parisi on the inside with Luke Fournier, a newcomer to iRX on his outside. It will be Jano Leskinen on the inside of row 2 with Sindre Silva representing Fox Gaming on the outside of row 2. Garrett Lowe in the Subaru now in 5th position. Josh Fox in 6th as we get set, Johnny, for our third of these heat races.
Yeah, the fourth and final heat, actually. Sorry, Arjuna, just to correct you there. So I'm actually surprised Garrett Lowe to come back to Rallycross. Now I'm going to give it to him on this one. I'm going to let him have it. Thought he was never going to race Rallycross again. Garrett, welcome back. Former race winner, qualifies for this along with Josh Fox. So they start from the back. Parisi from the front, though. Unlikely to see him at the front. Hopefully he makes the most of it. We go green. Now, was it a false start from Connor Parisi? I saw him moving before the rest of the field.
It was very, very marginal, but he leads them down in through turn 1. Fournier side by side with Sindre Silva, who's up into second. He gets turned, though, by Fournier. Here comes the Williams car of Josh Fox trying to get to the inside as we head into the hairpin here. There's going to be more contact as who's that slinging their car down the inside? Josh Fox and Jano Leskinen up into 3rd and 4th then, Johnny.
Yeah, certainly. There's a lot of argy-bargy down the back of the pack. I love it. Garrett Lowe, welcome back to Rallycross after your, what I thought was a 2-month retirement. So there's Garrett Lowe, just ahead of Sindre Silva, the Norwegian. Sindre Silva is improving day by day. Very high IQ Rallycross driver. Garrett Lowe to the Joker. Nice strategy. Just get rid of the traffic here on the opening laps. So Josh Fox to the outside. He's also a race winner in Rallycross. Won at Lucas Oil back in 2018. He's one of the most underrated in the field. So it's Parisi who leads. Now, has he false started the event? The ironic thing is, with no pit... Well, I say ironic, poor use of words there, but the weird thing is that we can't actually find out until he takes the checkered flag. So if he wins this race, Arjuna, we'll have to wait a few seconds for that penalty to update, because he'll know locally, but we don't have live race control from his cockpit.
Well, there's a commotion and some... just a little conversation between some of the competitors not competing in this fourth and final heat race right now. George Simmons, who is the spotter for the Apex Racing team, just making a little bit of a joke about how if that's not a jump start, he'll go off and buy some food for the rest of the day. Lap 2, though, still waiting for a number of cars to come down onto the Joker. It is getting a bit closer between Leskinen and Fournier, but they are 0.8 of a second behind the race leader as we complete lap 2 in the final of our heat races. And now, Johnny, we start to think about the last chance qualifiers that we've got in front of us. They've been getting increasingly physical in the third and fourth heats. And as we head into those last chance races for these drivers, I expect the intensity to really ratchet up.
Who said that food thing earlier, you said?
George Simmons.
Oh, from Apex. Well,
yes.
he'll be having a hungry night then, because it was definitely a false start. Sorry, George, but he'll be on a hunger strike, I guess, for the rest of the evening as Connor Parisi leads this race. But yes, you talk about the LCQs. It's not day over for the rest of these guys who don't qualify. You can identify that by your top 2 who advance through to the feature. Anybody below that green line in our standings will go to your LCQs, last chance qualifiers, or consolation races as we know them. Luke Fournier, welcome to Rallycross. He could advance, but he's got Jano Leskinen right behind, ready to pounce on that transfer spot.
Fox has, by the way, slipped off the back. 1.7 seconds adrift right now as down the hill they plunge through turn 1. Quick sweeping left-right chicane here as you get the great look from the rearward shot from Fournier as Leskinen tries to just sling it down the inside of the hairpin, but nothing doing just for now.
Well, so far, if I like these 2 drivers, because what we need in Rallycross right now is drivers who have racecraft, and I saw brilliant defensive driving there from Fournier, and Leskinen, who had a peak but knew when to back out of the move heading into Druid's hairpin. And it's something you can't really teach. The best racer, in my opinion, when it comes to racecraft in Rallycross, that's a bit of a tongue twister, is Mitchell de Jong. You watch him on board in some battles. He's just so patient. He knows when to battle, when not to. It's not perfect, but he's certainly the best out there. He's not racing today as Mitchell de Jong, but hopefully in future All-Star Invitationals. So heading into turn 1 now, final lap, we're going to see 4 Jokers from your top 4, but from the top 3, realistically, they can win this event. Now, you can overtake into that Joker, but Leskinen with a whack into the wall, has he damaged the steering and damaged his opportunity to head to the feature race?
Well, I am getting some words from some of my teammates telling me that Connor Parisi has some of the quickest reactions that he's seen on the iRacing service. So question remains, is it going to be a jump start for the race leader, the 11 car, working his way down into the Joker now with Fournier and Leskinen in hot pursuit? They launch themselves in. Doesn't look like there will be a change of positions just for now. And so let's see, will it be Parisi? Will it be Leskinen that advances to our feature race? 10 laps waiting for the race winner. Checkered flag flies. Lots of intrigue. Parisi hasn't fallen down the timing sheet just yet, Johnny. Indicates to me that was a clean start. And my, oh my, what a start it was.
Are we sure we don't want to wait a little bit, or is it confirmed? Is it confirmed Parisi's through, you reckon?
Oh, we got to get the results up on screen. No, it's not. There you go.
Oh.
It's almost like you know this a bit better than I do, Johnny.
Well, so does that mean that does George Simmons get a sandwich now, or what? If that's not a jump start, he'll order a sandwich. Oh, so it is a jump start. Okay.
So he doesn't have to order a sandwich, but I think he's, like you said, he's going to go hungry now. So
Hunger strike right now for George Simmons. Yeah.
And we head into then the first of our last chance qualifiers. Slightly bigger grid than we saw with the pro drivers. Vicente Salas on the front row alongside Joni Heikkinen. Lots of World Championship experience there. Joni Ollikainen and Luke Kraus row 2. Eddie Kerner, Jarrett Liebert, they share row 3 on this grid. Josh Edmondson, Bobby Zelensky, Garrett Maines, the final 3 cars. So 9 in this heat. And just 1 advances to the feature as well. So this is going to be exciting because 8 of these cars will go home at the conclusion of these 5 laps. Once more, the lights illuminate. The cars rev their engines up. We get ready to go racing here from Brands Hatch. Long hold once more. Good launch from the front row. Heikkinen not as good as he was, though, in the heat races. He's got to defend to the outside as Kraus tries to get around the outside. 2x2. Heikkinen gets spun from behind, Johnny. His terrible luck continues.
Well, somebody bumped Joni Ollikainen, which domino affected him into Joni Heikkinen on the outside, and that's why you want the inside line into turn 1. It's the safest opportunity. Ollikainen to the lead now of Vicente Salas, the 18-year-old. The Californian trying to hold the lead from a potential future world champion right behind. This will be a good scrap between the two. Now, this will be interesting. I don't think any of these two can take to the Joker because of the traffic behind, but Ollikainen needs to make a passing move quickly. He's got an opportunity on the Brabham Straight.
He sends it deep into the final corner, but Salas gets the good run. Four-wheel drive does make it sometimes difficult to get the power down in the most effective manner, but it's Salas who leans from Ollikainen. 4/10 at the line with a further 1.2 back to Luke Kraus, who's being chased down by Garrett Maines, as you see here, down in the Subaru in towards turn 1 with Bobby Zelensky in the blue and gold right behind him as always. 5 laps here, Johnny. Joker strategy. You were saying you don't think they can come down this time around. Who's that in the background? Eddie Kerner with a huge accident there.
I caught the end of that for Eddie Kerner, but he's turned around at Paddock Hill Bend, almost taking the track in reverse at the moment. So not a good race. I think his day is done along with Jarrett Lee, but be a tough asking for Joni Heikkinen from here on in. It looks realistically a battle between your top 2 because remember, only 1 advances, as we discussed, from this last chance qualifier to the feature race. They'll start on the back row on the inside. And here's a replay. So this is Eddie Kerner, the incident that's just occurred. Heads through Paddock Hill Bend, about 115 kilometers an hour through the apex here. Oh, and he's flipped that on his own and into the tire barrier too. Good on you, Eddie Kerner. We love a bit of entertainment. Won't be happy with that, will Eddie, but it was funny.
And it was proper full send as well. That's the commitment that you require over those anti-cut curbs as well. Sometimes it goes wrong. Unfortunately, hopefully the 98 car sees the funny side of that one. Battle for the race lead as Ollikainen tries to sling it down the inside, but Salas, who is being committed to running that outside line through the hairpin, Johnny, holds on. And I think lots of confidence on the side of Vicente Salas right now. As I said, coming off his first career eNASCAR Coca-Cola victory for Space Station Gaming, he's carrying that momentum into the Rallycross side of things very nicely.
What's that team called? Space Station Gaming. It's a cool name.
Not just a cool name, Johnny. They got an actual cup car adorned with the InSim livery and got some really cool promo shots. It's an organization that I know Salas is excited to be in, and I think very much enjoying how 2021 is going for him.
Well, my eyebrows were raised on that one, but they're certainly being raised on this one here because this is a nice little scrap. So let's see what line the Salas takes. He goes to the outside. You might be wondering, why is he missing the apex of the corner there? There's a bit of grip on the gravel on the outside that is actually quicker. And you just saw Luke Kraus take to it on the outside there in the background in the 3rd position. It actually might be a little bit quicker, much like the Helle Lunkenbahn Joker lap where you saw Bo Albert take... Well, he went up the inside, sorry, but it was Alari Lamansivu for victory. Go right up to the exit. How about this from Ollikainen? Got to do something different, right? Takes to the Joker on the 2nd to last lap. Trying to gain some time here and some clear air. This could be a drag race for victory in this LCQ.
And just what we saw a few moments ago as well, Johnny. The question now becomes the gap between Salas and Ollikainen, 1.9 as Ollikainen works his way down in through turn number 1. It's going to be close, and if Salas can be a bit more aggressive on the block, we might start to see how important and how aggressive these cars want to be, because the graphic on the left isn't accurate. It's one car that advances. It's Salas or Ollikainen.
So the gap we're looking for is 1.9 to 2.1 seconds. Ollie Kainen's got it covered. It's 1.8 at the moment. We could see him advance to the feature. Your pole sitter. This is nothing new to him. We saw this at round 1 in the World Championship. And now he heads to the Joker right up ahead. That was Vicente Salas. Ollie Kainen to Clark Curve for race victory. It's going to be a poor exit for Salas. Now, will he pull off a John Robertson? Switch to the inside. He's got the speed. Drag race for your final transfer position. Oh, he's taken them both out. And across the line, Salas wins. How about that for a finish? NASCAR style.
As you see, that is the Bobby Zelensky blue and gold Subaru Motorsports USA car backwards across the line. Hasn't been such a good day for Zelensky. Let's see if we can get a look at the results.
Keep rolling
there.
It, Bobby. Well, let's watch Bobby here. Go, Bobby. Come on.
Let's see if we can get the results, because it was very close between Salas and Olakainen at the line, and it was just the way that they crashed that in effect has allowed Salas to advance into the feature. Olakainen will not be impressed with that one, Johnny.
No, he certainly won't. I mean, we're here for some fun in the All-Star Invitational, but you do that in the World Championship, and I tell you, like, the organisers from iRacing behind the scenes won't be happy. Here's the grid for your next LCQ. Jacob Rafos, Josh Fox will start from the front. Now, if Marcos Matamoros does not advance, I know the young Spaniard very well. He will grab a beer and head towards his uni studies after this one. He will not give a damn. Now, Sindre Silva in the 4th position is on the outside. Quinton Del Olmo, the brother of Killian, will start on the inside alongside Garrett Lowe in this LCQ. So the rest of the grid up on screen will cycle through. So 7th onwards, it's a 10-car field. Matt Adams alongside Connor Parisi, who false started, should have won the last heat. Robbie LaRue will get a second shot at it. And Jake Robertson, who we've seen for about 3 corners, will have another shot at the start.
So our final of these last chance qualifiers, 10 cars, 1 spot in our feature race is on the line. Wonderful look as you see the staggered formation that these cars have as well. 2 by 2, 5 rows. They will fly their way down into turn 1 because the engines have revved, lights illuminated. We are underway. Not such a good start for Josh Fox. The young Jacob Raffus in towards turn 1. No major challenge. He will scamper his way through. Side by side, third on back though, as a car morphing in between one another there. Finally contact, and I think unfortunately it's Jake Robertson who's pointed in the wrong direction, Johnny.
Yeah, keep driving, Jake, this time around. You never know what might go on in this feature race. So Jacob Rafos leads. How brilliant will this be to see the Set esports driver in his first race for Set Promotion heading into the feature race? Just young at 13 years old. Big experience for him on the world stage. Josh Fox in second. He is a race winner in Rallycross, in with a shot. Sindre Silva only made a feature race in the World Championship, only one of them. And the Norwegian here is improving quicker and quicker. Now, if anyone's smart in Rallycross, I said it, Sindre Silva, wait for his Joker strategy. Will he pull it off early or wait towards the remaining laps?
Josh Fox, you talk about 2 different generations almost of Rallycross competitors in sim racing. The young 13-year-old recently signed up for Set Esports. Then you've got Josh Fox. He's competed in every single season of the Rallycross World Championship. 7 career iRX podiums, as well as a victory at Lucas Oil back in 2018 when he achieved 3rd place in that championship. Now representing Hanson Williams Esports, applying lots of pressure onto the back of the number 13 car. The one thing that we should just briefly touch on here, Johnny, as we work through the middle stages of this B main, as it's called on the iRacing service, very much a field dominated by Subarus, and we don't want to touch on it too much and, you know, balance of performance and things like that, but it is good to see someone like Garrett Lowe commit to the Ford and just make things a little bit different.
Yeah, certainly. He drove it for Lonebro Motorsports last year in the World Championship. Former race winner at 2018 at Iowa. Definitely the most thrilling finish we've had in Rallycross for anybody who has not seen that event. Had a battle for the lead between Mitchell de Jong and Joni Heikkinen. They were slicing and dicing, bumping, rubbing, all this kind of stuff. Had some contact on the final lap, and then we almost forgot about Garrett Lowe. Oh, and Sindre Silva's into the wall, and is he wedged into the barrier, and well, I don't understand who's over the barrier. I don't think that's Silva, it's somebody else.
The number of names that have been involved in this: Silva, Parisi, Lareal, and I think Adams as well. We will have to get the replay up on your screen and see exactly what's happened here. Timing tower goes a little bit crazy as Sindre Silva and Connor Parisi make their way back down onto pit road. And here is the iRacing replay. Sindre Silva.
Sorry, I was going to say cue Spanish Flea for this one, because I want to see what the ending of it is. So there's Silva wedged, and there's that Parisi collecting him. It is. Now, you said Matt Adams was involved. Oh, so now, okay. If Spanish Flea, somebody needs to remix that with Spanish Flea in the background, and you've got yourself an internet meme for the future.
One of many that I think iRX has thrown up over the years, Johnny. I mean, that was an interesting kind of way that I think Parisi's car kind of flew itself back across the track, but a couple of laps left to go. Let's focus in on Raffles versus Fox, because if you're Josh Fox right now, Johnny, you might want to think about coming down to the Joker this time around.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got to focus on this because there's only one last transfer position. I told you Fox was going to do something different. Good on him. And he heads to the inside. This could potentially gain him victory unless Rafos pulls off of Vicente Salas and goes full NASCAR style and takes him out at the line. So remember, the gap we're looking for is 1.9 to 2.1 seconds between Rafos and Fox. Fox has raced in almost every round of the Rallycross World Championship since the inaugural event. Missed round 2 in 2018. Ended up winning that event at Lucas Oil the next time we visited. It's been his only career win so far. He's super quick in Rallycross machinery, as we know. He's 2.4 seconds behind Rafos. Now 2.2. The gap changing corner by corner, lap by lap. And they will head towards the final corner, Clark Curve, for the final time. Rafos to the Joker. Will Fox get it? I think he's too far behind.
This is going to be an important entry for Rafos. Car looks very balanced as he cuts the distance as best he can. Get down onto the power. Watch that car. Very, very nicely handles the Joker, and he hangs on to victory in the second of our last chance qualifiers. He'll start at the tail end of our 10-lap feature event. Interesting couple of races there, Johnny. They got increasingly physical as we worked our way into these final opportunities for cars to qualify, and now we have our 10 cars locked and loaded.
Well, Rallycross always requires extracurricular activity. You do need to throw some elbows out there, make some contact. It's part of Rallycross, but the harder you race, you don't want to have any penalties, and it also sets your reputation to your competitors. Good on Garrett Lowe and his return to Rallycross after his mini-retirement, as you like to call it. Just joking, Garrett, as he comes home in third, but he's out for the day. Everybody from second onwards, goodbye to them. Go and grab some, well, certainly for Marcus Matamoros, go and grab a beer, because the young man will be happy to be back in Rallycross cars, but not happy for some other drivers behind of Silva and Parisi. I think we haven't seen the best from Quinton Del Olmo today. He is very quick in dirt rally, and he will bring his talents to iRacing and hope to do the same as we head into a small little warm-up break here. And then we've got our final feature race coming up shortly with your 10 best here today, scrapping it out for victory.
And that's going to be on the other side of these messages. 10 laps, 10 drivers, and the first round of the iRacing iRX All-Star Invitational on the line here from Brands Hatch. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these messages from our partners.
Today's new cars have upwards of 100 computers in them, and a dashboard rivaled only by a commercial airliner. But wouldn't it be nice to really know what all that does for you? At Roadshow, we demystify the world of modern transportation with reviews of your next car, the latest news on what's changing the industry, and videos covering every screen and every new feature you'll encounter in the driver's seat. Get informed, get smart, and get going with Roadshow.
Welcome back to RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live and continued coverage of the 2021 iRacing iRX All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Alongside for the final 10 laps of action here from Brands Hatch is Jonathan Simon, with Tyler Maxon down in the production booth controlling all of the action. Andreas Backer, Johnny, has already visited the victory lane here as the pro racers decided who was the best amongst them. Now the finest in sim racing have done the same. 10 laps, 10 drivers left to decide it all.
It's a virtual victory lane, isn't it? Probably went to the fridge and grabbed some food after that one. I'd be quite hungry after sweating it out and turning the steering wheel. Sim racing can be physical at times. We've got a brilliant feature race coming up. We've got some of the best out there, some new faces, and some old faces returning to Rallycross as well. Tommy Horman, Johan Harth starting at the front. We've had 3 potential world champions from last season, drivers who have won races and other top sim racing world championships as well. 2, and we've got young drivers as young as 13 years old in Jacob Rafos. How about that in his first day, not let alone first event, but first day representing Set Promotion, already into a feature race.
We'll be starting at the back though, and we've seen sometimes is the place that you want to be. Think of Henrik Krogstad, for example, last to first in just about 300 meters time. And the start here, Johnny, is going to be crucial. We've seen increasing physicality from the drivers, and very much with the win on the line here, turn 1 is going to be a bit of a brawl in terms of cars trying to get out in terms of the running order first.
Yeah, there'll be punches thrown from the inside line, but if you're on the outside, you've got to just hold for dear life and hold your breath as you head downhill into turn 1. So Johan Harth, who starts from second, really a no man's land. If you start from third like John Robertson, you can slot yourself up to the inside and potentially nab a spot on your teammate. So look out for that at the beginning as the driver's currently in a little warm-up in the background here. Everyone's just getting their last few laps in. How about this for Luc Fournier, though, as well, our junior, into Rallycross, into an official event, you would say, for the first time in a World Championship or All-Star Invitational, doing quite well. He's very quick in Rallycross cars, and good to see him out there starting from 4th. Not a surprise, Luc Fournier. Could we see him in the World Championship in 2021?
And he's joined by some very intriguing names. Luis Nunez signed up for Logitech G Altus Esports just a couple of months ago. He's in this feature race as well. Bo Albert, part of the Altus Esports team, technical issues this morning, unable to make it to the race today. Also, Kevin Ellis Jr., a race winner in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. That will be a name to watch. But let's go ahead and take a look then at our starting grid for our 10-lap feature event. It is Tommy Holman that will start on pole position here from Brands Hatch. On his outside, it will be Johan Harth, the defending Rallycross world champion. John Robertson, second place to his teammate late in the season there. He'll be on the inside of row number 2 with Luc Fournier on his outside. Luis Nunez in 5th alongside the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup driver Kevin Ellis Jr. for the Apex Racing team. Row 8 is Kilian De Olmo with Jarno Leskinen alongside for Williams Esports with Vicente Salas and Jacob Rafos, a very young but very talented row rounding out our 10-car field. 10 cars, 10 laps, 1 person will be crowned victor here from Brands Hatch. The first real major event that these sim drivers have had to navigate their way around this Rallycross track. Who will come out on top as the engines rev, the lights illuminate once more here from Brands Hatch. 10 cars all formed up in that staggered formation. As always, you can see them start to squat as the drivers start to rev up the engines. The green lights begin to illuminate. We get underway at Brands Hatch. Very impressive launch from the front row, but they go 4 wide down in towards turn number 1. Slight contact between the two of them. Harth able to get up into the race lead, Johnny. Look at that further back. Oh, just about make it work. As I say that, though, Robertson starts a bit of a chain reaction.
So there's some collisions down the back of the pack, but what a start from Johan Harth, who nabs the lead from Horman. Horman trying to argy-bargy his way past right now. We love a bit of physical activity. Robertson in 3rd. Ellis Jr. holds a second group right behind. So we've got your three best at the front, scrapping out for the lead. And then we've got Ellis Jr. now swamped into Graham Hill Bend in the background. Now we'll try and get an update on what's happened with some accidents down the back of the pack. So we saw, I think Luis Nunez was involved, Luke Fournier for sure, who started fourth, down into ninth, and Vicente Salas as well. No jokers from your top three this time by, but we've got a race on our hands the next 9 laps.
This is going to be really, really intriguing. Robertson is looming menacingly, and it's Apex Racing 1 and 3. Ellis has slipped down to 6th, unfortunately. It was very, very chaotic on the start, as you see Ellis now trying to get his way past on the set esports driver of Delomo in front of him. Lots of damage to the front of the Williams of Leskinen as well. Through the hairpin they work. Leskinen with a very defensive line. Ellis Jr. tries to run the outside and get the momentum down the hill into the jump. And you can see the front three, Johnny, very much happy at all of this fighting. They are 3.5 seconds clear of Leskinen on back.
Well, Rallycross might be a therapy session for Kevin Ellis Jr. because we know he loves his colorful language. And I tell you what, do not get a live radio of Kevin Ellis Jr. in any of these events. He heads to the Joker this time by. And there's his teammate up ahead. So that's John Robertson into the Joker as well from the 3rd position. Smart strategy from John Robertson, the 18-year-old. Who just finished high school and is looking to commit more to sim racing as he heads towards university. Ellis Jr. appears right behind Jacob Rafos in his first day for set promotion, first event for them too. So the gap between Robertson and Harth needs to be, remember, 1.9 to 2.1 seconds, and Harth may have to cover his teammate. We'll look out for that.
Ellis barging his way past Rafos in front of him. Not sure the 13-year-old is going to take too kindly to that, but he holds on. Forces Ellis to take a look, I think, further into this lap. Ellis has come down the Joker and fed himself out into some rather poor track positioning. You can see in front of them, Leskin and Delomo still side by side for a second, as Kevin Ellis is very much getting stuck up behind the young 13-year-old here. Applies the bumper to the set esports driver. Is he going to be able to get the run now into turn 1, Johnny?
No, I don't think so. You'll have to outbrake him, though. Is his best bet. It's a long braking zone, but it's downhill, so it's so easy to get wrong. Look at him, Daniel Ricciardo Ellis Jr. into turn 1. And he's just got to hold the apex there on Rafos, which he fails to do, but he will have track position, and he bullies Rafos into the barrier there. It's a bit tough to see from that angle. Ellis just tried to stick the rear end out, and these cars have some... It's very easy to bounce off each other in these cars, so as much as Rafos will not like that maneuver from Kevin Ellis Jr., I think if the car was a little bit heavier, it'd be a lot easier for Ellis Jr. to get away with something like that. But the battle for the lead continues. Robertson, by the way, has got the gap on Horman. He's got second position delta-wise. 1.3 seconds between he and Horman. If this continues, Johan Harth needs to keep track of John Robertson. It's 2.6 between he and the leader. Harth does not want to lose this race at all.
Lap 4 complete as these cars dive their way through turn 1. Holman and Harth separated by 1.2 with 1.3 further back to Robertson. So Harth still comfortable in terms of the gap to his teammate, but Holman starts to struggle on the pace. Talking about Rafos, by the way, just welcome to the top level of sim racing, Johnny. Young driver, still lots to learn, both mentally in terms of racecraft as well. I have no doubt that the sky is the limit for the number 13 car.
He's 13 years of age. I think back to 13 years ago, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty young myself, and there's stuff I just remember doing in my life, and I was like, wait a second, he wasn't even alive when I was thinking that or doing that. It's insane when you just think about it in that sense. But for Tommy Horman in second, he's got his work cut out for him, like we said. Tommy Horman's dad, actually, Yamo Horman, sorry, was he won, I think, the Finnish championship in the mid-2000s, but also raced for set promotion. So he's got that linkage and got that support from set promotion to support him in the World Championships as well. He's best friends with world champion Sammy Matty Trogan too, let's not forget. Sammy's not racing here today. He was invited to these races. Hopefully we get to see him more. He's got some commitments with Walk and Horse Motorsport out in the motorsport world, let alone the sim racing world for Williams Esports. But right now, look at the gaps. Robertson may have this win under his belt. Harth has got to take the Joker this lap by.
It's 1 second between Holman and Robertson, so Robertson very much in the driver's seat. If he can close slightly more, it's 2.5 between him and his teammate leading this race. And two drivers that got very familiar with battling for a world championship just a few months ago. We start our quest and our road to the 2021 iRacing Rallycross World Championship. And guess what? Familiar names at the front. And they're, of course, joined by some new ones as well. Excited about some of the names that we didn't even get to talk about too much, Johnny, because they found themselves involved in some incidents. Because at the end of the day, to commit yourself to the time attack qualifiers that the majority of the field had to go through, only 10 cars invited from the prior World Championship competitors, it really does show that there's a vibrant community behind these cars that continue to produce some top-level drivers.
Yeah, Rallycross is so exciting. Probably I hate using this word because it's so cliched and overused, but one of the most underrated forms of motorsport. It's very exciting. It's good fun. And I've always enjoyed it. I've covered every year of Rallycross, haven't I, since the inaugural season on iRacing, and I've had a blast through each of them. Last year was definitely exciting in that final round. And it just gets better and better year after year. We've got the real-world drivers involved from motorsport. I say real-world, but it's just motorsport. And we've had so much more ideas that have been thrown up in the air for 2020. Look at the track rubbering in. How brilliant is this on iRacing as we watch a battle here with Jarno Leskinen holding off Kevin Ellis Jr. You can see the track there. The tarmac is starting to show, or that the rubber is at least planting onto the dirt. As we look at the battle for second now, as Holman trying to hold off John Robertson. But Robertson, by the way, has lost the delta on Hearth. It was 2.2 seconds at one stage, now 2.6. Don't forget, it's a battle for the win too, not just for second, between Robertson and Holman, along with Johan Hearth, who leads this race.
Well, I think Holman's actually been backing Robertson up because Robertson did close to about 4/10 on the back of the 87, but a 1.9 separates Hearth and Holman heading into the final couple of laps. Now, Johan Hearth in the driver's seat to take the first victory in the iRacing iRX All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. Andreas Backerud took victory slightly earlier on as the best of real metal full Rallycross in the real world took victory there. Hearth, the world champion, starts 2021 off then, hopefully in the best way possible. Once more, Robertson applying the pressure, but 2.5 seconds behind now, Johnny. He's a little bit too far behind.
Yeah, a little bit's the right way to put it. Just not enough. But he kept him honest, kept his teammate honest. Needs to do something different. As much as Robertson was happy for his teammate that he won the World Championship, you've got to be a little bit selfish in motorsport and hope that that World Championship was to your name. Now, Barney will throw out his deltoid and his shoulder by waving that white flag furiously, beating it to hell. And to hell Lunkenbahn, that is. That we'll visit later on. You liked that one, didn't you, Arjuna? As we head into Paddock Hill Bend for the final time. Now, Hearth has got the delta, like we said, and I think Holman doesn't have enough here to hold off Robertson. So it'll be an Apex Racing Team 1-2. Don't forget, they were teammates, Arjuna, for Team Yokohama in the World Championship. So technically, if they do re-sign for Team Yokohama, if they enter another team this year, it's another Team Yokohama 1-2.
Well, I mean, if you're Team Yokohama watching on board, of course, presenting partners of this iRacing iRX All-Star Invitational, why not sign up these two drivers? There goes first and second to the Joker. Around the outside will come John Robertson to challenge for second and make it an Apex Racing Team 1-2 here in the iRacing iRX All-Star Invitational. Round one goes to the world champion Johan Hearth with his teammate John Robertson in very close pursuit. What a way to kick off our iRX journey in 2021, Johnny. World Championship qualifiers just around the corner, and we start looking forward to seeing Brands Hatch on the World Championship schedule in the fall.
What an exciting event, and good to see these three have still got the talent to be up there at the top. They haven't lost anything over the break, even though a lot of them haven't been driving Rallycross full-time. We've got our sights set on a World Championship later on this year to look forward to. Hearth, Robertson, Holman, three of the best on the podium. And how about that from Killian Dalomo in fourth? An ever-improved Killian Dalomo. He also raced for Set Promotion in 2020. And the young 17-year-old looking better. He loves Rallycross, so do his trio of brothers. And Jarno Leskinen, a new name, the Finnish driver, finishes in fifth. For Kevin Ellis Jr., well, It would have been a colourful race from the cockpit, like we said, but it's good to get some experience under his belt. As experienced as he is, Arjun, still came home in 6th, and just ease the nerves of Rallycross, you know? Not that you have many nerves, but just get some experience under your belt, get a feel for what it's like, get a feel for the contact, and that's good experience for a driver who's been racing on iRacing for many years at the elite level.
He knows what it takes to win at the World Championship level. Very impressive last year, like I mentioned. Took victory in the opening round of the Porsche Tagore Esports Super Cup in 2021. But it's his teammate Johan Hart that takes victory here today. I'm sure Kevin Ellis Jr. will be relying on the likes of Johan Hart, John Robertson, to take him potentially. Not sure what the plans are for Kevin Ellis just yet. There's a potential other World Championship from the iRacing team coming later this year with the Dallara IR01 car. But for now, it's Apex Racing Team that will be very happy. The question now, as we wait for interviews to potentially come into the booth and to join us here, Johnny, the next time we return for round 2 of this iRX All-Star Invitational, we're heading to 2 different tracks. The pros and the sim drivers, they head to 2 different facilities. Daytona for the real-world pros, and then Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya for the sim racers. A second new track that we'll see on the World Championship schedule. And I'm really enjoying these little previews of what the World Championship might look like when we go to 3 of the newest tracks on the iRacing schedule.
Yeah, definitely. Barcelona's exciting. Very similar to the FIA World Rallycross layout in a sense. Very, very similar. Not the same, though. And then we head to Atlanta, a driver's favorite for the sim racers for round 3. Sonoma for the pro drivers. Charlotte, that final round is what I'm looking forward to. It is an exciting circuit designed for racing, much like Brands Hatch. Brands Hatch, by the way, today, for those who've been watching, is the longest circuit, almost 2 kilometers long on the Rallycross circuit. Uses the most fuel, of course, as well, because it's very, very long and very fast, too. Exciting times ahead for Rallycross, along with all our brilliant old circuits returning, too, from the old Red Bull GRC days.
And it is a new era in effect, I guess, with potential changes across the globe for Rallycross, not just in the virtual, but the real world as well. Let's get into our post-race interviews if we can. I think Johan Hart is ready to go. The Frenchman standing by, the World Championship winner in 2020. And Johan, you start your journey off in iRX for 2021 with a win here from Brands Hatch.
That's a good way to come back, you can say. Yeah, well, I missed iRX a lot, and yeah, to race with those guys, that was pretty refreshing, not gonna lie, after the season I had in Porsche. So yeah, really, really happy to be back, and you know, I still have it, sort of.
Well, one more round of that Porsche Tagore Esports Super Cup Championship, Johan, before you can focus in, I guess, on iRX. What does the fall look like for you defending your championship? Of course, I think last year was a bit busy balancing the commitments between the Super Cup and this iRacing Rallycross World Championship. You'll have a bit more time and a bit more attention, I think, to focus on this World Championship. And you might have to start worrying because Apex Racing Team clearly looking very strong across all of your drivers.
Yeah, as you said, I've got quite a bit more time this time to focus on iRX. We're gonna be done by this weekend with Porsche, so yeah, I'm gonna have a few months to get back up to speed in iRX. I struggled a bit last year with that. At the first 2 rounds clashing with Porsche, so I was a bit off, and took me quite a lot of time to get back up to speed. But yeah, I hope it's gonna help a bit, the fact that I've got a bit more time.
What are your thoughts as well, Johan, on these new tracks? Brands Hatch, of course, one of 3 new additions that we're going to be visiting in this All-Star Invitational. Very fun, if you ask me, to drive around by yourself. Very difficult, especially turn 1 here, to get around safely when you're racing with some of the best in sim racing.
Yeah, turn 1 is definitely well, probably the hardest one in the iRX calendar. It's pretty tight, coming super fast into turn 1, so yeah, it's really challenging. But yeah, the 3 tracks that we got earlier this year are really fun to drive. Quite enjoy Brands Hatch. I think that's my favorite, to be fair, of the 3 we got. But yeah, I'm looking forward to racing at Barcelona and in Charlotte later.
Well, thanks for joining us, Johan. Congratulations on your victory here today, and hopefully we'll see you back in this defense of your championship later this year in the iRacing Rallycross World Championship.
Thanks, guys.
So that was the Frenchman Johan Hart. Victory here from Brands Hatch. His teammate is standing by. So let's bring in John Robertson, 2nd place in the World Championship last year. And he's standing by with Jonathan Simone.
John, I want to go back to your heat race, mate, because that was a brilliant strategy on Killian Del Olmo at the Joker. And then you go back to the feature as well. Another brilliant Joker strategy too. Your IQ is off the charts this round.
Yeah, it was really good. This Joker is really interesting around this track. It's really full on trying to figure out where everyone is in relation to you, because obviously the Joker is slower as well. So we don't have to deal with that much. But yeah, the Joker strategy really saved us today.
And this is a good feel for what Brands Hatch Racing will be like, won't it, later in the year in the World Championship, right? Because we've never been to this circuit, in a sense, in an official type of All-Star Invitational or World Championship event. It seems like you guys have the pace for it, and it seems like you guys are looking strong yet again in 2021.
Yeah, it's really good to come back and get a good result like that. We were really just treating this as like a fun race just to get back into Rallycross racing again. But yeah, it's definitely looking good for this year. I can't wait for the World Championship to start.
Of course you can't, mate, because you've just come off a loss of the World Championship, right? And the motivation's high to make up for that. We know you were distraught after that final round. You led for most of 2020. The final round didn't go your way. You were due some bad luck, and it happened. Surely 2021, you come back with a vengeance and you win that World Championship to your name. That's the aim, I hope.
Yeah, it's definitely the aim. We'll see how it happens. Obviously, there's a lot of luck involved in Rallycross, and we had quite a lot of luck last year. So, yeah, all we can do is try our best, but I definitely can't wait to get stuck into it for sure.
And you have last thing, you have to remind me, mate, did I bet my entire house on you winning a World Championship, or was that a feature race win? I can't remember. What was that again?
I don't remember. I remember you bet something, but yeah.
might be out of a house soon, man, if you don't win one. Yeah, high stakes on you right now, John. Think about, don't be selfish, mate. Don't just win a World Championship for yourself. Think about who need a house to put over our heads. But in all seriousness, mate, well done today. Good to see you back out on the racetrack, man. I miss Rallycross.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Yeah, thanks for the broadcast. It's been great to get back racing again.
So John Robertson second in today's race. Apex Racing Team 1 and 2, Johnny, and we'll take a look at the schedule for this event. Couple of weeks off as we head into round 2. We'll be back at the start of May for this one. May 4th from Daytona and Barcelona, Catalunya. A 1-week turnaround as we head to Sonoma and Atlanta. At least we stay in the virtual United States then. And then a couple more weeks off before the finale, Charlotte Motor Speedway. I must say, these tracks that are chosen, they're some of the best, not just the older ones where you got Daytona and Sonoma, which are classics in terms of the World Championship races they put on, Johnny, but 3 new tracks that, like I said, very exciting for these drivers to learn how they need to race at.
Yeah, good choices by Chris Leone there. Mix it up a little bit between our motorsport drivers and the sim racers too. 2 tenths at the line, by the way, between Haas and Robertson. Whether or not Haas slowed down as well to make it a little bit closer, we'll wait and see. We'll look at the telemetry. But most of all, 2 weeks, like you said, Arjuna, which means that these drivers have time to repair some of these cars, because there was a lot of damage out there today. Looking forward to it. A lot of beers for Marcus Matamoros, I'll tell you that much, over the next 2 weeks.
I think they'll be very, very glad they are not actually going to have to pay for any of the crash damage. The iRacing iRX All-Star Invitational is presented by Yokohama. Now's the season to save. Take on the open road with a new set of high-performance Yokohama tires. Yokohama customers receive a rebate in the form of Visa prepaid card or a Visa virtual account with the purchase of 4 select Yokohama tires between April 1st to May 2nd, 2021. For more information, visit yokohamatire.com. It's time to wrap up then from Brands Hatch here in round 1 of the iRacing iRX All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. Some incredible action, and we'll do it again in a few weeks' time as the pros head to Daytona and the sim drivers head to the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya. Plenty more action though in the next few days on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. Tomorrow, the cars and stars of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Series will be out in force on the iRacing service from the virtual WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Coverage brought to you by iRacing and the wonderful team at Radio Show Limited. This weekend, though, the next of the iRacing special events and the second of the VCO Grand Slams as we head to the Green Hell for 24 hours of uninterrupted coverage in partnership between RaceSpot TV and Radio Show Limited. For now, though, from the virtual Brands Hatch, it's Andreas Baccarat and Johan Harth in victory lane here at the first round of the iRacing iRX All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. On behalf of the RaceSpot TV team, my name is Arjuna Kankipati. I've been joined by Jonathan Simon with Tyler Maxon controlling all of the action, and we'll see you next time for more virtual dirt racing action.